Welcome to Crunch Time with Jeff Iafrate, Booner, Lukas Klotz, and Michael Gentry. Fellas, we've got no Jeff Iafrate here.
Karen's gone. Karen is gone.
Karen is
we can
out.
have fun now, guys. We can have fun.
Did not label him, but Karen. He's already going to be watching. You know you're getting the
Yeah,
text
you
like
know, like that.
Jeff is for sure tuned in. Usually, I thought I'm the Karen in the chat usually, to be honest. Though. I'm
No,
usually
Boone,
the
you
one
are the Karen. Usually
for
you're on
sure.
by the music by now.
the music is it's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys. All right, welcome in. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe. I think if I did it right, I think you can join as a member at the top. I think I pinned it to the top of the chat. As Jeff usually does that, but I did it. If you should be able to click up there already, Nicholas Earl, he's bricked up. Hold on, can we put that on the screen? Member for 5 months, boys. Let's go. Nicholas Earl.
Shout out.
Fellas, how are we doing today though? How's the days?
Good productive Thursday. Last day of work for me. So I think after this, have a little team bonding, play some Fort or something like that, go for a run, late night run, wake up in the morning, get after it.
Late night run?
There's nothing better. Nothing
Easy
better than
going.
I think it's supposed to start raining too. Running at night and it starts raining a little bit. It's nice.
I don't know about
Yeah.
that, but also had a good day. Ready for the weekend. It's going to be a great Thursday. We have the Doc coming on. A rare Thursday appearance from that guy, but you know it's going to be electric as always. So it's going to be a good Thursday, boys.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a bunch of Lions stuff. It's literally like a Lions packed show. I'm excited too because we were texting. Tomorrow we're doing a bunch of tier list, and we're also gonna do. We might do like a fantasy draft, and we have over unders tomorrow. It feels like it's like a legit fun Friday tomorrow for the show too. So I'm kind of
We got to
pumped
do
about
a
that.
fantasy
It's
draft.
fun.
Yeah, I'm
We could
pumped.
each just do one. We can either do. It'd probably be easiest if we all just shared one team instead of having 3 separate ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I haven't even looked at fantasy. I haven't touched the fantasy draft. I haven't done anything with fantasy. So like that'll be like my dipping my toes in the water there tomorrow.
I
I'm
love
kinda-
fantasy.
I'm going to
kinda
put you on the
nervous.
spot, Lucas, right now. If you're drafting, who's going in the top 3 picks?
In order:
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do order because it's
Justin
really,
Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and Christian McCaffrey, just like last year, probably.
okay. Name 5. That's too easy. Who's 4 and 5?
5. Brees Hall should be in the top 5 for sure, and then probably trying to think if I don't think Kelsey's going to have a huge year like that. Probably Jamar Chase. I think he has a big year with Tyler Boyd leaving. I think a lot of those receptions go his way in the slot. Chase.
I'm going
Amon-Ra could be in there too.
Tyreek Hill #1 overall.
I don't hate it. I think
I
Jeff
feel
is going to have a year though, because I know that they have Sam Darnold, but we saw what he did with Nick Mullins, and I think that he's just in a position where he's ready to bounce back from an injury. And people see that Tyreek Hill led the NFL in receiving last year. I guarantee you that Justin Jefferson wants to take that back.
It's weird that he still had like 1,100 yards and he played in like 10 games last year. He averaged. I didn't realize it until I watched receivers, and then they were talking about he averages like 90 something in his career. And then I went and looked at how many he averaged a game last season. It was like 107 yards a game last season with the injuries. Like it's that dude is different. CeeDee Lamb,
like going into fantasy drafts, do you have any like routines you follow when drafting? Like, I don't know. I've kind of repeated a few times on this show and to you guys many times, but just wide receivers in general. I try to draft 3 wide receivers that are wide receiver ones, no matter if that's within my first 3 picks or, you know, you snag one with the 4th pick and kind of mix an RB in there. But the wide receiver route has paid off for me for many years. So
I think that's the zero running back strategy. Is your first 3 rounds you just go no running backs, and then you go running back in the 4th round. Like that's like the zero running back. That's what I've done, and I've won a good amount of fantasy leagues and been in the championship quite a bit.
I mean, it depends on the board, but I usually try to do, especially if I'm in the back half of the draft, at least in the first round, if there's a good wide receiver duo that I can get, I'll do that. But if I'm like in the middle, I try to go like wide receiver 1, RB1, and then just start from there. Just because if you have 2 wide receivers and then there's so many times where I've done drafts and it's just the running back plague of just like, it would be like the Sony Michels of the world would be your RB2 or somebody in that. Like, it's just somebody that you don't even want to look at. You're trying to trade right away, but you can't. So that's why I try to get at least one running back.
What I hate happening though, unless I get like Christian McCaffrey or like Jahmyr Gibbs or like an elite running back, what I hate happening is like if I get past them, I think you have more value of getting a high end wide receiver 1 in the second round than you do like a high end running back 1. Like I think there's like less high level running back, like way less, to where you like, yeah, the Sony Michel thing, but like if you go 4th and 5th round with 2 just average running backs, all right, you have 3. You have Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I don't know, like Nico Collins. Like that's pretty elite.
I was going to say this, what Xavier said. Depends, obviously, if it's PPR or not. Most of mine are the 2 that I play in are, so that's why
same here.
I go wide receiver. But like you said, Booner, like the 4th, 5th round, you kind of sneak like a guy like Kenneth Walker that drops to you or something like that. Like those are the tier running backs that I aim for after, hopefully getting 3 of the best wide receivers in the league. And then PPR, those guys are balling, so.
I've never not played PPR, by the way. I know Klotz over there.
Neither have I. I hate standard. It's just boring. Like you get 0.8 points for an 8-yard or
it's
like
the weirdest thing. The numbers just looked like everything about non-PPR.
The final score is like 64 to 54.
And you get those people who like think like they're big fantasy gurus, and they're like, "Oh, you play PPR, you play non-PPR. Be real about it." Like, dude, you're trash at fantasy. Come play me. See what happens.
They're judging you because you play PPR.
It's nuts, bro. And they're like, they just think they're better because they play non-PPR. All right, I don't even want. I hate some people, dude. Did you guys see this today though on Twitter? This popped up today. I saw. Dan Wetzel tweeted out. He said Detroit has released final numbers of the 2024 NFL Draft. The numbers were nuts. 775,000 attendance. All 50 states. Fans came from all 50 states, 20 different countries. 30.2% of the fans traveled more than 100 miles. And then the money part of it, fellas, like this is like I work downtown and I've for the last 4 years now, and I've seen like the come up 213.6 million in economic impact, including 161 from visitors from different cities. Like that's when I saw that, I was like, we were down there. I think we could say we were all a part of this because we hosted an event during it, fellas. But like that's like an insane number. Like that, like those numbers are insane,
big time. And hopefully, go
ahead, Judge.
I was gonna say, hopefully, like events like that just showed like Detroit's been in talk for all-star games in the NBA and the NHL, that this city has kind of taken a step forward and they can handle those type of events because. I mean, dude, we absolutely crushed it. It was awesome. And I'm really looking forward to obviously it's probably not going to be anytime soon, but the time we get to run that back and hopefully, break that record and, double this amount of money we made for the city.
And I think it's important too, because I think there's just always been a bad narrative, especially when you talk about an NFL narrative around the city of Detroit. I mean, you hear Stephen A. Smith, he'll give the Lions credit, but it's still trash city of Detroit. When Detroit shows out like this, there's no incidents that happen. I thought it was honestly obviously it was going to be dirty, but I think the place was pretty organized, pretty kept up. That's very enticing for the NFL is looking at Super Bowl cities. So if the Detroit Lions and Detroit handled it like this, it's definitely something where they got to bid for it. Obviously, you're going to know years in advance, but it's a good sign, especially where the Lions are going. It'll be a place, it's indoors, and it's an attractive venue for the NFL world. They're going to be looking at Detroit too.
They have to get a Super Bowl soon, I feel like. Like you did what you did.
They had one in like 2006.
It was a while ago. I think it was like the second year or something or it was like the first 5 years of Ford Field being open. Yeah. But I feel like you put that event on. Roger Goodell was in town the whole weekend. He was going around doing different events, doing different things. I feel like he looks at this and he's like, all right, the city is back. Detroit is back. Like they showed up. And I don't think there's like I know they schedule out Super Bowls so far in advance, but there's no way you don't start. Like the Final Four is coming. I think, what is that, 2026 or 2025? It's coming up, actually, I think, soon. But you're getting the Final Four, but, like, the Super Bowl should come back. I saw someone in there, Shift God said we might get another WrestleMania. Like, you start getting these events, Detroit, like, starts getting money, and that thing just starts building and building and building.
It'll be such more of a better atmosphere, too, because you go over the West Coast in California, especially when you look at, like, L.A., I mean, it's a great place to have anything, but the football culture is just not there. Detroit in the Midwest, you put a Super Bowl there, the atmosphere is going to be absolutely buzzing. It's going to be the best type of buzz you could get pre-Super Bowl. Like Radio Row that week would be completely different than if you were to do it like San Francisco or somewhere in that liking.
Yeah, there's not too many sports towns like Detroit. I mean, you have four pro teams that have all been historically good for the most part, and obviously you've had some down years, but when all these teams are flowing and they're doing well, it just shows how good of a sports town it really is here.
Do you guys, the Packers are next year? There's no way they beat the record, right? Or
I
is it
kind of want to
Pittsburgh?
go.
The
Is it
draft?
Pittsburgh? I think it's.
Yeah.
I know it's in it's at Lambeau. It's at
Yeah.
Lambeau.
I want to go.
That
To
actually
Lambeau?
might be because, bro, there's nothing going on in Wisconsin at all, ever, outside of
Yes.
Packers football season. So that whole state, I guess you got the Bucks going up there, but during
They're
that
gonna have
time,
some good
like,
numbers.
I don't know if
Yeah,
they'll
those
have
are-
775,000 though. Like that's like
Packers
who's
brand bigger than the Lions, bro. You know how many Canadians will probably come down for that?
There's
guess
going
so.
to be a ton of people, and you got to think there's going to be a ton of people from Detroit, even, and like the surrounding
Yeah,
cities around there
Chicago,
too.
Minnesota.
Like, there's going to be a lot of Detroit fans, especially they want to make their mark on Green Bay too. So
I've never been to Green Bay. Do they even have hotels to be able to host that? Like
it's smaller than Toledo. Like they have hotels, but literally
sure.
like what Green Bay, like when have you ever heard of Green Bay outside of the Packers for anything?
yeah, that's
I
true.
used to think like I didn't even know Green Bay was a real place growing up.
I
as a
thought
kid.
that was just the name of like the Green Bay Packers, like the New England Patriots. I don't think New
Yeah,
England's a
exactly,
city.
Me too. Me too.
I
I
thought
thought
it
it
was-
was just like the region.
Yeah,
Like there ain't shit going on here.
and I thought they were in like what's the closest city? Milwaukee. I thought they were maybe in Milwaukee. Like
Aren't
I
they,
had
like-
no clue.
isn't the stadium in like a middle of a bunch of like subdivisions in the middle of
There's
nowhere or
literally-
something?
if you're looking at the stadium across the street, there's a house. Like your traditional
I think
like
I've seen
suburb
that.
house with like a lawn with dogs running around in that. Do you know how much, bro? Can you imagine the real estate for that house?
I've got a friend that I literally talked to him on the phone today, and he lives in Green Bay. He said he's like, I live a mile from the stadium, and he was telling me like there's people renting out their apartments already for next year's draft for like thousands of dollars a day, like thousands and thousands, because like there's hotels, but like you're trying to bring in 700,000 people for a weekend. Good luck. There's no way. I don't think there's any way Green Bay competes. There's zero chance.
They won't be
I
able to
think-
hold the amount of people to your point though, Boone. But
I
that
don't-
bitch will be filled.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
okay,
At
I think
Lambeau
they'll-
too.
They definitely have like the fan capacity, and like I said, the surrounding cities will have people there too. I just don't know if they're actually built for it, kind of like the chat's been saying, and how you kind of alluded to. Do they have the hotels? Do they have the housing to hold all these people for 4 days?
770,000. I don't see it happening, boys.
Acting like there's a wave of migrants going up there or something.
That's what it is, though, right?
I mean, it really is. And, like the Airbnbs downtown were still at like like $1,500, $1,600 for draft night just for one night.
This might just be me because like I hate Green Bay and we're Lions fans and like we don't like the Packers. I picture Green Bay being like a small town, a small city with maybe like 50,000 people, and then there's just farmlands all around out there, and there's no other cities around. So like at least for Detroit, you have like Royal Oak, Birmingham, Dearborn. You have all the you have all the St. Clair Shores. You have all these places where people can go to hotels and stay. Yeah, shout out. But like Green Bay, what do they have? I feel like it's like, what are we gonna do? Stay in a bar?
I feel like every dash cam video I ever watched on YouTube is out of Wisconsin. I can't think of the city out of Wisconsin, but it's like every dash. That's all that goes on over there because there's nothing to do. I wonder how many people actually live
Where
in Green
cops
Bay.
originated.
Green Bay.
Could you
Wisconsin.
imagine? Just right outside of Lambeau Field. That's where they
That's
all
the
the videos
first
from.
ever cops episode is right outside of Lambeau.
They have
Just driving
106
around.
106,000.
That's not that crazy, dude.
No.
Detroit has millions. That's not that crazy. I don't know. I'm interested. Who knows? Maybe the boys will be there too. Gentry, I was bring this up. Lucas texted me earlier today. He said, Booner, Tigers won 10-1 today. And he said we should talk about it because I guess I don't know, dude. I tweeted from our account. I could tweet the Tigers from our account 1,000,000 times, and for the last 3 months, and it would do nothing. And today they get a win. Jack Flaherty, I guess, goes crazy. They get a win, and then all of a sudden I put a tweet out there, and the tweet blows up because the Tigers are back, boys. Like they've won like 7 of 8 games or something.
But I don't even think it's not the fact that they're back. It's the fact that they actually score. What was it, 10-1?
10-1, and they've been scoring for like 7 games. The only games I think they've lost in this like 8-game stretch are the dude that you hate, Klotzy, Maeda. Him pitching.
Maeda.
Oh,
They've won like 7 of their last like 8 or 9 games, and the only games they've lost was this Maeda guy. Like Gentry, you probably know more than I do.
Yeah, and no, Maeda got sent to the bullpen, so he's not going to be starting anymore, and hopefully he doesn't even get too many looks out of there. But at the end of the day, it sucks because him and Javi are taking up half your cap space. But
Oh my gosh.
no, the lineup's been able to string together some hits. Obviously, Colt Keith has kind of came into his own. Riley Green still being Riley Green, and then you've kind of gotten help from the other guys too. So, I mean, it's good, and they've been on a little streak right now. It's just how long can they keep it up? Can those bats be consistent? I don't know. The bullpen's obviously always been pretty good throughout the year, but they I don't know. I'm more interested, like, if they keep this up and they keep, contending and they're in there, like, do they go out and make a trade? Do they acquire a bat? Obviously, do they still sell off some of the pitching? Like, I don't know. They're in a weird situation.
That's what I would say. Seeing the situation, how they're still winning, do you think that almost puts a little bit more pressure on Illich to spend money? You know what I mean? Where it's like you don't have bats, but you're seeing that when you do score, you're going on a 7-8 game win streak. So if you just go out there and spend a little bit more money, you could have a successful. Because I think the Tigers, it's fair to say, they're mid to and sometimes even below mid. They're not completely trash, but they're a mid team right now, and there's nothing that's going to be raising their elevation offensively.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like you kind of seen the results early on in the season with that, as far as like them not scoring runs, and when they do score runs, or a certain amount of runs, they're winning a lot of these games. I think a move probably would have been made by now, but like obviously there was a lot of stuff going on with the roster. You got Torkelson going down, and a lot of guys jumping in and out of the roster. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see too, because like you said, they've been playing really good lately, and if they do add a couple of the bats, they have the pitching that can contend, and that's all what you really want as a playoff team. Your pitching will take you a long way. So maybe if they add some bats, I just don't know. Is he willing to actually spend money? Because in the offseason, obviously he wasn't on willing to spend money on really anyone besides Gio Urshela and then Mark Hanna and Maeda and those guys. Not the greatest.
I'm a Canna fan.
He's been awful lately, but Gio Urshela has had a few good games.
I've bet on Gio Urshela a couple times, and he's came through. Dude, I just don't get so like my thing. Like, okay, so Maeda got sent to the bullpen, which is probably a good thing. That makes me think, and I don't know where you're at with this, Gentry. Him getting sent to the bullpen makes me feel like they're not going to look to move like Skubal, or maybe they'll move Flaherty, but I just don't think they move with starting pitchers, because if you take out a start, like, who's going to fill in for him? Like, who has there been already a starting pitcher that's been able to play at a different, like a higher level to take his position, like in the lineup?
Flaherty or Skubal?
No, Maeda. Like who's taking him in that starting rotation?
I mean, they've had a lot of guys. Obviously, Casey Mize has kind of battled injuries. You still have Reese Olson, so I don't really know who they'll make as that other starting pitcher in the lineup. I think obviously just getting him out of there is the best case scenario. Yeah, and then I think Flaherty's obviously more likely to be moved than Skubal, because Skubal you at least has some control on for the next few years, and then Flaherty, I think he's only goes through the end of this year. So if you can get something for him now, it might be the best option. Obviously, because he's going to get paid next year, and who knows?
Because I can't see them. There's no chance. There's no chance they are like, all right, three of your starting pitchers, Maeda, Skubal, and Flaherty. You move one of them. You move Maeda to the bullpen, and then you just trade both of the other ones. And now you're like sitting there like, we just don't have, like, we have to fill in starting pitchers from scratch now. Like that's why I think that they made that move, and they're like, we're not getting rid of any of our big guys anymore. I hope they just buy bat. Just go get bats, dude.
To be honest, I think they just made the move because he's been horrendous, and like they needed to do something. Like, I mean, there's been so many points in the season where you can point out a guy and be like, why is he still in the lineup? Why is this guy still pitching? And like, this was just one of the moves that's gotten to that boiling point. When you see Maeda going out there, it's almost, you're chalking it up as a loss, and he's getting homered on 2 times in the first 3 innings, no matter what. So like, this move just needed to be happened. It was like a statement for the fans. Like, we're not going to put you through this anymore. So
keep the pitchers, add some bats, extend Flaherty, and get this thing. You're 7 games out of the playoffs right now. Like, that's not that crazy in baseball.
Booner, can you put up a chat poll? See what the chat wants. Do they want to get rid of Skubal, or do they want to keep him?
Let's see what I can do.
It makes no sense. It's like, imagine taking away your only strength at this point.
I know,
like, if you take away him, it's like, all right, what's next? You got to find another strength. That's your identity right now. Your identity is you have strong pitching. Build around that. It doesn't even have to be this season, because you know that you're not going that far in the playoffs if you somehow make it. So keep your pitching strong and then get bats so you can now have a formidable team instead of, all right, now you have bats. You got to go get a pitcher now, and you're not going to find one like Scooble out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do
No,
I don't know what I'm doing over here with the polls.
Boone's, hey, don't worry about it. We keep it moving.
They get the point. But either way, no, I'm under the impression that you do keep him because, like Lucas said, you're just going to go out and try and find another Tarek Skubal, and you have him at least controlled for some years under contract. So it's not like you have to pay him at the end of the year and you have a risk of losing him and whatnot. That's the ace of your team. He's one of the best pitchers in the league as of now. So you're going to be looking for him. I think the right move would be to keep him and fill the lineups with quality hitters. Like,
what was the poll question? I got it up.
Do you want to trade Skubal or keep him?
All right, I just started it. I'm a dog. Don't forget that, boys. I'm an absolute dog.
Hey,
I love
plays,
it.
Like Coach said, you don't pitching every year. That is fact.
Yeah. And if you have two guys that can pitch, in the pitching coach too, he's been an absolute dog. The dude from Michigan, I don't remember his name. You guys already know I'm not a big baseball guy.
But I don't remember his name either.
He's been developing these guys like Michael Lorenzen last year. He's the one that turned his career around and got him going to where we could trade him. So I think you keep the guys, extend them, and just move on. Build your team up. We're talking about extension, boys. Ready for this? Did you guys watch the St. Brown podcast today?
No, I did not. I saw clips of it, but I didn't actually watch it.
So Amon-Ra was asked about his contract, his new contract extension, and you guys will hear what he says here. I'm just gonna play it, and then I'll let you guys boys kind of pick out there what you hear from it. Let's see if I can get this going.
Why are you smiling?
What about it?
Why are you giggling?
You guys hear this?
Tell us how that went down. Like,
it was good. It was good. You know, I knew something was gonna happen eventually after the season. I just didn't know when. Talked to my agent, Joby, who's with Vanguard. He told me, you know, that he's going to start talking to them after the season's over, but it might take a while. It can either go really quick, really long, or it might take a few months. And so I knew going into it. I mean, I know the Lions wanted to get a deal done. We wanted to get something done on our end, and took about 3 or 4 months. He would call me like every 2 weeks, update me with the situation. But I think Job, that was my first like second deal or contract, whatever. But Joby said it was one of the like smoothest deals he's ever done, like big deals. So that was good news. But I was excited. You know, thankful for people that helped me get here. You guys, my family.
Cliche.
Just everything. It was great.
All right, boys. I just like the only thing from there that I took away from it. And the only reason I wanted to play that,
I was wondering.
Brad Holmes.
Oh,
no, I'll just take Brad Holmes away. Like, you get these deals done and around the NFL, and I don't know where you guys feel about all these like big deals in the NFL. There's like always holdups. Like Tyreek Hill, like right now, he's trying to get a deal done. The Dolphins are like, I don't know. CeeDee and Lamb, they're like, we don't know if we want to pay him. Brandon Ayuk, like Jamar Chase. Amon-Ra St. Brown, like just being open and being like, hey, my agent said this was the easiest deal that he's ever done in his career. And for it to be like a deal that broke like the absolute, like the record for wide receivers and basically reset the market. I think that's like, tells you everything what Brad Holmes thinks about these dudes. Like same thing with Penei Sewell, I'm sure, with Jared Goff. Like I know we did a lot of shows where we were like, oh dude, is this deal ever going to get done? Do they really want to extend Jared? I think Brad's just like always does the right thing. And he's like, we want to keep the dudes, like we know what we're about. And like, these are guys we want in here. The fact that big of a deal was just like, all right, we're good. Like that's, I don't know where you guys are at. Like, that's just crazy to me.
I think what a lot of it has to do with as well is because when you know you're re-signing Amon-Ra for 4 or 5 years with whatever he's got left on his rookie contract as well, you know exactly what you're getting. There's no off-the-field concerns. You know that each year he's going to be putting in the 202 catches after practice, and he's going to continue to get better. So when you talk about guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, extending Penei Sewell compared to Jared Goff, and I'm not saying that Jared Goff isn't a good player. I think Penei Sewell, without a doubt, is the best tackle in the NFL, and he's on a rookie contract. So if you re-sign him now, it's like, all right, if you got to pay him a little bit more for whatever he wants, now go ahead and do it because he's going to be worth the money without a doubt. Amon-Ra St. Brown, same thing, without a doubt. Jared Goff, I think it's very secure, but there could be a little doubt when you're talking about long term, and especially the financials and looking around the other quarterbacks around the league who are getting paid. And you know that Jared being a quarterback, going to try to reset the market there for his tier of quarterback. So I think there's just a little bit more to go in with it when you long term wise.
Yeah, I just think the whole thing was probably just a mutual interest. And like Tyler said, Brad Holmes always rewards execution. Oops, sorry, I meant to click it. But like Lucas said, you know what you're going to get out of Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've seen it since he's came to this roster. He's one of the hardest workers, if not the hardest in that locker room. So I think when Brad Holmes, like he said, it was his guy. He always knew he was going to go out and re-sign Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think there was a mutual interest from both sides. And that's why it just went so smoothly, because it was a no-doubter.
Dude, do your job, get paid. Like it's a simple equation. And it's like crazy that like around the league, I feel like in every professional sport, like dudes do their job, and just like the Saquon Barkley video, like that GM on the phone with Saquon Barkley it was so clear that he was like, we just don't want you. Like, but he's like telling him like, no, please come back. And he's like, no, we don't. Like, I know you can't pay everyone, but like if a player like Amon-Ra St. Brown and these guys, like if they're doing their job and they just took you to the NFC champ, you have to pay them. Like, I don't think it's like something you can walk in a room and be like, hey, we're not going to pay this. Like, you just can't lie. There's like situations in life, and then like I'm in all the time daily, where it's like I want to like this sounds really bad. I want to lie to someone like at work or something, or I want to lie, and it's like you just can't. Like you can't. It's like I can't.
High accountability, Boone.
It's just like you deserve more respect than that. I can't lie to you. And it's I'm not a bad person, but like every human thinks that. It's like Jamar Chase is going through it with the Bengals. It's just pay the guy. You know he's your future.
The thing is, too, that's huge with this, and you can even talk about Jared Goff with this, too. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jared Goff combined. How many games do you think those guys have missed since being in Detroit? Penei, I don't ever recall missing a game. I think Amon-Ra has missed 2, both concussion-related things, and Jared Goff has not missed a game since he's been in Detroit. So these are guys that, again, consistent. They set the culture. You don't have to worry about off-the-field issues, and they're going to be available. Amon-Ra was talking about on a receiver when it first came out. He's like, the best ability is availability. And you look at the guys that a lot of times are causing these big contract issues, great players, high talent, but they cause a little bit of issues off the field, and they're getting hurt a lot of the time. Not career or not season ending, but even like Jamar Chase. There's been multiple seasons where Jamar Chase misses 4 to 5 games, and you see that hurts the Bengals when he's not out there. Amon-Ra is out there damn near every game. Penei, Jared Goff, they are out there.
Even when Amon-Ra is, not out there, it's for a good reason, because like you've seen in receiver, he was leaving it all out there. He was fighting through everything, playing through every injury if he possibly could. So it's just the perfect guy you want in the locker room, the perfect guy that you are willing to give money to lock down.
I might ask the doc this question when he comes on today. I'm interested because like you can't pay everyone, like we know that, but like Amon-Ra is a guy you have to pay. I'm just so interested to know who the Lions like value as players they can walk away from, because it has like the fans, we love everyone. Like the Aleem McNeil people are like, oh, we need Aleem McNeil back, we need Hutch back, we need Penei, we need all these like Frank, like we need these guys. But it's like, guess what? You're not giving everyone the deal that they need, or they're going to be like the market's like you're going to have to walk away from some guys. And I'm interested to know like a guy like Doc who's in the building, who he feels like they look at like that, because it's not, they probably aren't like saying it, but you could probably get a good feel. And like the fans, I wonder who the fans, like they're in their mind, who they think. Do you guys have like any names that would come to the top of your head, like
as far as that they're going to move off of,
that you could see them being like, yeah, we have
and
to
this is
move
what
off them. We can't pay
sucks, but it's a different time for the Lions. I think when you look at a lot of Super Bowl caliber teams, especially when at the start of it, there's usually 1 or 2 players that leave and are really good somewhere else because they can't afford them. When I look at Iffy, I see a very damn good football player, but I don't see there's a way that they really bring him back. So could I see Iffy leaving Detroit, making this up, going to Baltimore and having a hell of a career? Absolutely. And can you be mad at him for doing that? No, because he improved his timing in Detroit. He put in the work. He made this team better. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And if he can go out and win somewhere else, because he's a talented player where he can, I think if there were one player, I think Iffy, because when you look at him and Kirby, like we said, his play style's a little inconsistent, but since he's been on this team, he's been very consistent on a year-to-year basis. And I think that's a guy that's every year he's on your team is going to lead him in interceptions. Iffy is a guy that he's just got Brian Brancher, and that's something that's always going to suck for him in Detroit.
What are your thoughts on the possibility of losing Aleem, Booner? Because I know that's
That-
your guy too, but like I forgot who was that. Whoever just said that, you're gonna have to pay Hutch, and they are definitely
Yeah.
setting aside money to make sure that gets done because that is the cornerstone of your defense. Basically, obviously, we have high hopes for a lot of the other young guys too, but Hutch is that guy, and you're gonna pay him. So, what do you think of Aleem?
When I was driving home today, I was thinking about players. I was literally thinking about this question, and now it's came up. I was like, I wanted to get a feel out for the people because Aleem, like we had the conversation, and I heard the heavyweights yesterday talking about letting go of Aleem for an edge rusher, like a high level edge rusher, Matthew Judon, and a lot of people in the chat were like, no, we want Aleem here, we want Aleem here. If Aleem has a breakout year, and I'm just going to let the people know this, Hutch is going to be due for an extension because I believe at the end of his third year he's due. And then Aleem McNeil, say he goes out there and he puts up 7.5 to 9 sacks and has a big year. That's 20 plus million. Like those two contracts, that's tough. That's tough. Like that's very tough. And you do want to keep your defensive line together, but maybe like if no one else, like if Broderick Martin doesn't come in hot this year and they don't think they can get a free agent, like you might have to pay both guys the money. You might you just might have to. And obviously like
go ahead. I thought you were done.
I was just going to say with the Hutch thing, like obviously, and someone put in there, Tyler said the 5th year option. Like obviously, when you extend him, like the contract goes towards the end of it, and it, it gets pushed, but like you're able to kind of fill it out. I just like that's a lot of money for two guys in the D line. I think there's teams that do it, but then when you look all across the board, when you look at I mean, how much you're paying Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're going to want to pay Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, Penei Sewell. Like you're starting to stack up big time contracts, and some of these high level guys, you're not going to be able to pay. It's not going to, and you're going to have to look at you're going to have to rank all these guys on the money that are 20 plus million.
And I hear you as far as Aleem McNeil is not up to the Aiden Hutchinson, Amon-Ra talent wise. But what Aleem McNeil represents for this team, this is defense wise, is a stop the run first defense. If you look outside of Aleem long term, if you move on from Aleem, what are you going to do? Because DJ Reader's getting up there in age. I'm sorry, I do not trust Broderick, Levi. Makai Wingo's way too early to tell, but even him in year one compared to Aleem, I'm taking Aleem every time because, in my opinion, if you look at defensive tackles compared to you look at Taylor Decker's another name gets brought up. I think if you look at the draft this year, Graham Barton went, I believe, 26 overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I trust Brad Holmes enough to go find a right tackle, move Pineda left, rather than to be able to find a defensive tackle late in the draft that can contribute like Aleem as far as in the running, getting to the passer. Because Aleem, if he develops into the pass rusher we all expect, that's hard to find in the draft. And then you got to wait for that to develop when you're in your Super Bowl window. I'm not a fan of that, especially when you don't have that bookend outside of Hutch. I think you can go draft a bookend outside of Hutch, and he doesn't have to be the Matthew Judon. He has to be the George Karlaftis because this team just needs somebody on the edge that can win one-on-ones, and you can find that in multitude of rounds. This wasn't the best draft to do it, but they got Terrion Arnold. Next year, the needs are going to change. They have all the depth they need in the secondary right now, so they're going to be looking at reloading the offensive line and defensive line because that's where they started. They got everything else, and they're going to go right back to their roots and just keep plugging what they've been doing for the beginning of this rebuild. So it doesn't make sense to me to move off of Aleem at all.
Yeah, and Rad says here, I really think we are overvaluing what the rest of the NFL thinks of Aleem would be worth. Do you think that's the case, Booner? Because I may say that about some other Lions players, like generally just coming out of Detroit, we think higher of, certain Lions players, but Aleem's great. And for all the points Lucas has made, he's been fantastic in the run stopping. And I think another team would really value a guy like Aleem McNeil. And I don't think it's just us that really know his worth.
Yeah, that's the thing is I guess you'd have to wait to test the market. Like I'm in the camp right now. And to Rad's point, I'm in the camp to where if you go extend Aleem McNeil like today, you're going to get him at, and obviously this is the fact, but you're going to get him at a discount than you would at the end of the year. Cause I do think with DJ Reader and Hutch, he's going to have a big year. You're going to have to pay him more. And that might be in mini camps, they interviewed him on the field and someone asked him about the contracts. He's like, I haven't even spoken with my agent about it. I told my agent, don't even talk to me about it. Just they handle it and come back to me. I feel like as an agent, you're probably sitting there going, let's just wait till the end of the year, because say he just plays average this year, he probably would get the same contract at the end of the year than he would right now. And if he goes out there and performs, he's going to get an increase. So he's going to get into that, if he performs at a high level, that's where an Aleem McNeil in year 4, he's taking that elite jump and you're looking at, all right, we might have to pay him now. And I want to put this into perspective for some people. the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a lot of big-time players on their team, I'm not even going to do 2024 because they've extended people and those didn't hit. The cap hits and stuff didn't hit. In 2025, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 5 players with a $20 million plus cap hit in 2025. And if you want to look at the Detroit Lions, you're going to have guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson. I'm trying to think who else would be a $20 million cap hit at a point.
I don't know about $20 million.
Maybe
but it doesn't even have
4.
to be $20 million. You're going to have guys like Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yes.
They're going to be like anywhere from 15 to 20. And that adds up too. When you have guys like Taylor Decker, if they say are going to be on 1 year, $8 million contracts, it all adds up.
Yeah, and that's why I start getting to that point to where it's like you do have to there's going to be high level players like Aleem McNeil that you're going to have to walk away from, and you're going to have to let him test the market. Like that's just the way of that's how the NFL works.
To me, Aleem's not the guy to do it though, just because of the position he plays and how pivotal it is for this defense. Like in my opinion, and it's obviously Anzo's older, but you move off a guy like Anzo, you move off a guy like, I would even say you move off a guy like Carlton before you move off a guy with Aleem. Because when you look at the secondary that's in here, and then you think about if the quarterback's not getting rushed, that secondary is going to be getting cooked regardless. And there's going to be a day when DJ Reader is not here. So you need a guy that can get after the quarterback, and you need a guy that can play alongside Hutch. And if you don't have that end, you need Aleem. I'd be confident with Terrion, potentially Amik on the outside if you lose Carlton Davis. I'm not comfortable with Aiden Hutchinson, Roderick Martin, DJ Reader, and James Houston out there. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just not. You got to get somebody on the inside.
And Boone, kind of like you just talked about with St. Brown and Goff and Penei, like even Tyler said it in the chat, like what are the odds that Brad Holmes doesn't want to reward his own guy like Aleem, who's played through his contract and shown so many, strengths. So like, why would he be the odd man out, the one guy that, he doesn't reward after doing so well for him after, being one of his draft picks?
I do think one of the biggest questions when we did the segment the other day about like who would you extend, and we did like Carlton, Aleem, Iffy and Taylor Decker. I do think like that point to where it's just like you do have to see what these guys do behind them. Like if Terrion ends up being a CB1, walk away from Carlton and sign Aleem, and then go get a hopefully Ennis Rakestar or Meek can step in at CB2. But like, and it's the same thing with like Broderick. Like if Broderick comes out this year and he ends up being someone that we're like, whoa, like this is why Brad drafted him. Like he ends up being like the Iffy of last year, and you're like, oh, this is a dude. Then it's all right. Now we might be able to change things up a bit.
Let me ask you this though, because you could do that, but then instead of what if you re-sign Aleem and then you let Broderick develop, and when DJ Reader leaves, okay, now you got Aleem and Broderick.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And what is Broderick? A run-stopping defensive tackle, and he's the guy that's going to command a double team and free up Aleem, which is what DJ Reader does. So that's why just Aleem, just the guy that's just too. He's important as it is without another defensive tackle. When you have another defensive tackle that can actually do something, that unlocks a player like him into a player that not many in the NFL can be. He's not going to be Chris Jones. He's not going to be Dexter Lawrence, those type of guys, Quentin Williams, but he's going to be a damn good defensive tackle that not many teams have on their roster.
So we've got the doc joining here in about 6 minutes. He should be joining at 8:45. I'm reading the chat there.
Our boy Dennis is back. He got some news from Jeffrey Collum. So is this a coincidence? Jeff isn't here, and then we get some news from Jeffrey Collins.
Oh,
Dennis is back.
Oh,
we put 2 and 2 together here.
Dennis Wick,
Jeff.
That could be true.
You're smart. That would be wild if Jeff has a burner named Dennis Wick.
Bro probably thinks he's Dennis or John Wick. He's probably an alter ego. Can't give it away with the hair.
God damn it,
oh
Dennis.
My gosh, that is hilarious. Yeah, like think about this, and I guess we could just talk about this a little bit more. Doc should be on at 8:45, unless you guys want to do the quick because the one segment that I've been looking forward to. I had it on the prep yesterday, and we didn't get to it. Shout out Jeff for not getting to this one. But the Detroit Lions players, offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball, under the most pressure in the 2024 season.
Yeah, because I think it kind of implies to what we were just talking about. At least for me.
I'll let you boys go first. Let's do offense first. Let's do offense first.
Okay. Go ahead, Cook Gentry.
I'll go first. Obviously,
we're gonna have the close same one here.
This is my guy, but it's got to be Jameson Williams. You think, Josh Reynolds leaving, you expect Jameson Williams to step up into that wide receiver too. Obviously, the first 2 years of his Detroit Lions career haven't been as we expected, but He's under a lot of pressure. We expect him to be that guy moving forward. He has to come in, hit the ground running. You know, we expect him and Goff's chemistry to get better with the whole training camp together. So it's got to be Jameson Williams for me on the offensive side of the ball. You need to be a viable wide receiver too. You need to go out there and make an impact. You need to go out there and show why we drafted you so early. So it's got to be J-Mo.
Klotzy, you want to go or do you want me to go?
If you're gonna say J-Mo, go ahead because I have a different one.
Mine was J-Mo, and the pure reason I picked that, I'm with Gentry. I think we're lockstep with this. I'm interested to hear you actually have to say, Klotz, because like to me, the obvious one for me is J-Mo because just I think the way Jameson Williams performs this season is going to make or break your offense. Like I truly think like he needs to perform because you need that wide receiver too in this offense, and I think it's like. And I think he will. Like I think he steps up and does it. I don't want people to think because I think he's like the one under the most pressure that I think he's not going to do it. I think like he needs to step up, and that is like, is your offense going to be top 5 again, or is it going to drop down to the top 10? For it to stay in the top 5, J-Mo has to step up. Hey, boys. Expectations equals pressure. He has expectations now. That's all it comes down to. Is like Jameson Williams has high expectations in 2024. That creates a lot of pressure. I think he has the most expectations from what we've seen Amon-Ra perform, we've seen Gibbs perform, D-Mont, we've seen all these guys perform. We haven't seen Jameson Williams perform to like consistently at a high level. I think that's all the pressure right there.
Boys, it's Jared fucking Goff. Like, I understand Jameson Williams has pressure, but don't you think that Jared Goff acknowledges that? And that within itself puts pressure on Jared Goff, who's coming off a contract extension. And what happened when he got his last contract extension in Los Angeles? And what happened? He fell off and he got traded. So I think Jared Goff's a guy that's been in potential to, he's been in a Super Bowl before, lost, was up 17 in this NFC Championship game, lost. And I think he hears that noise and people are going to start looking at him if he doesn't perform even better, at least efficiency wise. He doesn't have to production wise, but if he's not as efficient, if this Detroit Lions offense is not top 5, they're pointing at Jared Goff. They're not pointing at Jameson Williams. So I think coming off the contract, if Jared Goff does not play at the same level he has, if he dips, I think people are going to be a little bit about it. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Jared's going to go out there and ball out, but he's got the most pressure for sure. He's the quarterback of this team, the face of this team.
I'm with you on that. He is the quarterback of the face of this team. The reason, and I did think about him of being the player with the most pressure on the offensive side of the ball. He's had pressure like year 2 when they were 1-6. That's the most pressure you have as a quarterback. You're 1-6 in a season to where you were supposed to compete for a division. He turned things around and did it. And then he backed it up the next season by winning the division, going to the NFC Championship game. And he wasn't even the reason you lost that game. He did everything possible. He made the throws to Josh Reynolds. He handed the ball off great to Jahmyr Gibbs. He did literally everything you needed to do. Like that pressure was like there's like, I think he's past that point. Like if we're talking about their Super Bowl contenders and he's in year 2 and he struggled a little bit last year and you would have gone to the Super Bowl if Jared Goff would have gotten over the hump, then I think, that's like, all right, we could talk a little bit of pressure, but I like, dude, he's performed. Like he's performed high level.
They're under the Super Bowl spotlight right now. There's not a brighter
light
than
last year.
They're on the national stage. Not like this year though. Not because you got to admit, to us they were. As Detroit Lions fans, we all thought that they were Super Bowl contenders. But Mike Florio is still like, there's still people around the NFL that are like, yeah, that's Jared Goff. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. He's not a Joe Burrow. He's not one of those type of quarterbacks, not a Patrick Mahomes. Jared Goff, now that he's getting paid, this is a Super Bowl contending team. That's an offensive-led team. That's a run-first team. So they don't really have to depend on Jared Goff. If he doesn't go out there and perform,
sounds like you're writing a narrative over there.
No. I'm not right. But there's a lot of people that do have that narrative where it's like, I think you could plug other quarterbacks in Detroit and they'd be doing just as well as Jared Goff, if not better. And I think that's the case for some quarterbacks. But when you talk about the quarterbacks that get brought up, like the Kyler Murrays, I think that's absolutely just blasphemous. But there still is that pressure for Jared Goff. If they don't go out there and win a Super Bowl, he's going to be the first person that they look at. It's not going to be Jameson Williams. Like, it's the wide receiver too. Great. But you still have Sam Laporta. You still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. If they're not getting fed, that's going to go back on Jared Goff.
Hey, Klotz, you from the chat, you're slaying. You're slaying, brother.
We could use I appreciate it. Different adjectives would be appreciated.
I am with you. Like, it always falls on the quarterback in the NFL. Like that, he's the centerpiece of everything. It's like if the team, it's the same thing with Dan Campbell. Like, if something goes wrong, it's going to fall on Dan Campbell, even if it was a positional coach's fault. Like, that's just the way it works. But I do think, like, Jared Goff, what he did the last 2 years, it's like, all right, as long as he goes out there and does what he did, and, like, if he does what he did last year and they still lose again, I would have to say it had to have been, like, something else. It had to have been Jameson Williams or the defense, or, like it wasn't Jared Goff's fault in the Niners game. That's the thing. So, all right, let's bring on the legend here. From Sports Illustrated, I think Lions All In. I hope I got that right here. I've got it written down.
Damn it, Booner.
I tried to pull the Jeff Iafrate. I rolled it down.
We need to phone it.
Respect on Doc's
The
name.
legend, the Doc, John Maakaron. Welcome into the show, Doc. How are we doing?
Fellas, that was funny. Booner, I was going to make a joke coming in that Jeff was worried you were going to sink the show, and then you butchered the name of the site. But I will give you guys a hint. It's going to change. The All Lions name is going to be rebranded. It's still Sports Illustrated, but now that we're a collective family, the site soon is going to be changed to, it's going to be called Detroit Lions on SI. So it's going to be great. Same layout, all good, but all the team sites are going to be connected. But I'm not worried. Booner's not going to sink the show. I enjoyed the first 45 minutes of the talk. You guys got it going on. Things are great. But I do have to address something. You might get the best version of me today. Just drinking water. I'm 45 years old. Happy to report I got a great, clean bill of health. I had a colonoscopy this morning. Boys, at 45 years old,
Doc. Busy
for
morning.
anyone that is not that hasn't gone through it, it is as crazy as you would imagine the prep. But thankfully, you get in there. It's a 10-minute procedure. They knock you out for a half hour, and they come in, and boom, they said nothing, all clear. So I don't have to do that again for 10 years. That means all the vitals are great for the DOC. I can fulfill all the terms of the contract covering the Detroit Lions, and I'll be around for a long time. Clean bill of health for the DOC. I'm in perfect health, fellas. Perfect health.
I love to hear
That's
that,
a beautiful
Doc,
thing to hear.
In all realness.
I'm not looking forward to turning 45 and having to do that, though. I'm going to be honest. I've still got a long way.
And you are looking forward to it.
I'm not.
You said you are looking forward to it. Oh wow.
Oh, yeah. So for Xavier, yeah, I do feel violated if you think about what actually happened to me today. But in the end, going through everything, you just do it. You know, you're 45 years old. It is rough, but luckily I was at home yesterday. That's why I usually come on Wednesdays. I said to Jeff, look, man, I'm going to be incapacitated, and it is crazy. You drink 64 ounces of a laxative overnight, and it's just – you got to go, and it forces you to go. So I was the cleanest I ever was this morning, but no, dude, the best meal you ever eat is I was so hungry, and I had eggs, bacon, toast. It was the best meal I ever ate because I was as hungry as I've ever been in my whole life. It was great, but man,
I kind of want to just take the laxatives just so I get that meal. I want to see what the meal feels like.
Yeah.
I don't think you do, Booner. I don't think
you don't want to do that.
64 ounces is crazy.
That is a lot.
I didn't know it was all that. That's pre or post?
Before the colonoscopy, 24 hours, liquid diet, no food for 24 hours.
They can't have you making any boo-boos or whatever they call it during the colonoscopy, Klotzy. You have to do it before. Got to be all cleared out.
I could never be a doctor and do that. There's no way.
No, listen, you got to do it. It's 45 years old, and you look, man, you want to make sure. For me, I'm the same way. I'm the kind of guy that never went to the doctor, but then when you get married and have kids, my wife was like, get your ass to the doctor, get checked out. Yep. And, a prominent sports reporter and broadcaster passed away from colon cancer. So it really puts it in perspective that, hey, get yourself checked out. It's bad, but as long as you're near the restroom and you can have a day off, it's just the hunger. The hunger was crazy, man. I was as hungry as I've ever been in my life. But luckily, Jell-O and some things you can do, but peace of mind. I have peace of mind that I'm as healthy as to be able to come on here and talk.
I'm glad you're alive, Doc. That scares me. I don't want to turn 45 now. I want to be 27 forever or 26. Right. I'm still 26, not 27. Slow down, Booner. Oh my gosh. Oh, all right. I'll move on from that. Doc, I'll start us off here. The last 2 days, you've been getting a colonoscopy. Amon-Ra St. Brown the last 2 or 3 days, though, he has been all over the news. I don't know where that correlation comes in play, but he's been all over the news for like 4 straight days. Like, I think every single day there's been a new podcast show, something released with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I did notice something. I read an article on your guys' website that it was bold predictions for the 2024 season, and one of them was Amon-Ra St. Brown to get MVP votes and potentially Offensive Player of the Year. I want to know kind of these last 4 days covering the team and Amon-Ra St. Brown, where you're at with the whole situation with Amon-Ra, him going into the season with the confidence that he can go and do that. And do you actually think, from what you've been seeing, that he can take that step forward and go be in like the Offensive Player of the Year race?
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. You didn't mention the individual that was there featured in episode 3 in the Leprechaun episode. That was me in the hat. And I'm taking pictures. I was multitasking. You can see me trying to tweet as I'm standing there recording with 2 phones. It was wild to think that I was going to be in that. And then you look at it and you say, man, Amon-Ra St. Brown, what a perfect individual to feature. Well-spoken, great athlete, embodies everything about Detroit. I loved it. Like I said, I watched all 8 episodes on Wednesday. I was thoroughly entertained, but Detroit is thirsty. Within a couple hours, his girlfriend was trending on Twitter. Y'all were trying to search who Amon-Ra St. Brown was dating. Real interesting. Detroit trying to find out a little bit more about the personal life of the best receiver. Well, I don't blame you guys. I don't really blame you. I get it. She was really interesting. She was an interesting member of the show. I thought she was real cool with her relationship with his dad. And I love the fact that his dad was like blaming her for the hip thrust dance. And she was like, I had nothing to do with it. But I look at Amon-Ra St. Brown and I think that, you know, he embodies everything. And the scene that really, I don't know, it went by fast, but I loved it. There was a scene where he was livid pissed. And I've said this on your guys' show. I want that for J-Mo, where he's like, I've never only had 2 catches. And he's storming off and Antoine Randall is tailing after him. He's like, F this shit. 2 targets. What the hell? 2 catches. He shows that fire in regards to the competitive spirit that you need. Nothing is good enough for him. And I just think that he should be in conversations for the MVP when you look at what he can bring for this offense. When you look at a player that has been groomed to, I mean, that's literally what it takes to reach the heights of success, is to have family that push you that hard to make it basically all about football. And for Amon-Ra St. Brown, he knows the offense. He's got the drive, and you recognize how pissed he was that look, the Pro Bowl is a popularity contest. And then you see when he actually gets recognized as an All-Pro, he just looked at it like, okay, thank you, bye. And it was nothing to him. So some guys, and look, you don't want to, put pressure on somebody, but he's got the Michael Jordan aura where you kind of need that. You kind of need that thought of being put down or being disrespected to kind of motivate yourself. And I think that for Amon-Ra St. Brown, kind of knowing that people don't view him as one of the top 3 receivers, maybe even still, might motivate him further to have an MVP type season where maybe he could even, top 1,800 yards and 12, 13 touchdowns. Look, that's the easiest contract that the Lions will ever offer somebody because he earned it, and he's going to be a continued great addition for the football team for many years to come. It was great to be featured. Listen, I'll be honest, I didn't need to see any of the others. It should be the Amon-Ra St. Brown show. I think you give him another show where you just feature him day to day, what he does, how he talks to J-Mo, how he talks to that room, how he talks to Jared. I think the show could have even been 10 times better without the other guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown could star in a show by himself.
I like that.
And Doc, kind of going with the Amon-Ra, he just got re-signed. We were just talking about Aleem. With Aleem, how important do you think it is for him to be re-signed in the Lions' eyes? And when do you think that'll come about, if it ever does?
Yeah, no doubt. I think that I know you guys were talking about it. The Hard Knocks offseason with the Giants is legit, man. It was great to see kind of the talks. And something that is also something that maybe should give people some excitement is the cap is at $250 this year, and it could go up further next year. So that means that there's probably going to be additional monies for those that you want to keep around. And then you're probably going to sign Taylor Decker maybe maybe you move on from Taylor Decker and you wipe out that $19 million, or you sign him for less and you'll have money. So I think they'll take care of Aleem McNeil after the season. I think that they recognize that, hey, there's an individual that is going to compete at a high level, and they do want to continue to see how he looks alongside DJ Reader. But man, you're going to keep him. I would be shocked if Aleem McNeil hits the open market. I think he's happy to be here, and there's a chance, like you guys were talking yesterday, Aleem McNeil has a chance to maybe even get double-digit sacks. So you're going to take care of him. And with more cap money, I think you're going to have an opportunity to be able to keep him for in this defensive line for many, many years to come. I agree with you guys. I think that Taylor Decker maybe is the guy that maybe will finish his career with a one-year deal if he accepts it. But will he accept less money? It's yet to be determined. But for the Detroit Lions, what makes them special, they have options. If Taylor Decker doesn't want to resign and doesn't want to take the offer maybe that's going to be given to him, you have options in terms of replacements. And we all trust Brad Holmes to be able to draft and replace if Taylor Decker ends up being the individual that moves on because of a cap casualty.
And Doc, we kind of broke down the article, this article yesterday. I'm not sure who actually wrote it, but they just listed their top edge rushers, and they had Aiden Hutchinson coming in at 6, I believe, and they comped him to the Bosa brothers. So Nick Bosa, or Joey Bosa, excuse me. Do you think that's a fair comp? And what are your expectations? Do you think Hutch can get into that top 5 edge rushers? And do you think he kind of already is?
Yeah. And so at this time of year, the article comes from ESPN, and they do their yearly rankings. The writer, Jeremy Fowler, really a great reporter, has a lot of insights. He has made his way to Allen Park and has done his research, and he's got a lot of good context, good sources for ESPN. So he gets together and he talks to executives and coaches and personnel departments, and he puts together his annual rankings. And I think 6 is fair for Aiden Hutchinson, the first time that he cracks the top 10. Last year was an honorable mention. So the comparison was to Nick Bosa, the star of the 49ers. And you recognize, man, if Aiden Hutchinson can be as lethal and get to 18.5 sacks like Bosa did a couple years ago, man, that would be something. But you can see why Aiden Hutchinson is respected. He's got all the tools: strength, competitive will, wants to be somebody that wants to be great. And you guys recognize it's only his 3rd year. So you see a guy that's got double-digit sacks, and he got help. So I think that, you could make an argument that maybe he was number 4 or 5. But at the same token, I think that the criticism of him not recording as many sacks last year probably was a little bit overblown. But I do the sack total is a relevant stat. But at the same token, he did have so many pressures. He did impact. He impacted opposing offensive linemen to a degree that you had to notice him. The sack numbers, clearly at times he was being held on every play. If you watch film, you see that he's getting grabbed, doubled, and at certain points wasn't getting as many calls at some points in the season. It's not to make excuses. Your job is to deliver, but at the same token, the debates are there, in regards to pressures versus sacks. And Dan Campbell spoke on it. He said, look, pressures are important if you can, hurry the quarterback into forcing throws that are going to be off target. So you don't have to get the sack if you're constantly pressuring the quarterback. And the key thing, we all got to keep our fingers crossed. And that's in the All Lions training camp preview. Recently, we talked about the biggest question mark for the defensive line is who's going to be opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, who's going to bring the pressure. And you have some candidates, and they have to step up, because if they do, then Aiden Hutchinson can get to that point where he can get to north of 15 sacks. It'll be great to see, because Aiden Hutchinson is on the upward trajectory, and you can only hope and expect real good things from Aiden Hutchinson this year. I think he took it personal that he was criticized regarding the sack lull that he had at some point in the season in 2023. I think he's going to come out with a vengeance this year. You can book it at least 10 sacks for Aiden Hutchinson. Maybe he can even get to north of 15 if the opposite edge rushers do their job.
Hey, give me 15 sacks from Hutch. You already know,
Yep.
Doc. The
Yep.
Booner path, and the part of
Yep.
the Booner path is Aiden Hutchinson, Defensive Player of the Year. So I read another article there here that you guys put out. It's actually the same one that I asked the first question. But within that, one of the bold predictions as well was Hendon Hooker to start a few games for the Detroit Lions. And I don't know if you were the one that wrote the article. It might have been one of the writers, I believe.
Yep.
Which they do an amazing job, all the articles that you guys put up. But I just thought this was such an interesting article with all the different bold predictions. And the Hendon Hooker one, we talked about it on our show, I think last Friday after the article came out, when we were talking about whether it was injury or what the case was there. What are your thoughts on that? Is obviously it probably has to be injury, and then if that does happen, what are your thoughts? I know you just paid Jared Goff, but what do you get put in a weird situation if Hendon Hooker goes out there and performs? Because you know me, I'm a big Jared Goff guy, and I wanted the extension, but if that seems to be a scenario, a bold prediction that happens, you set yourself up for a situation to where if he performs at a high level, now that's when fans start to question.
Yeah, to address streams only. No, it was not written before OTAs and minicamp. It was bold predictions. The blessing of working for Sports Illustrated is there's a national site, and they also had their writer, Connor Orr, who also visited Allen Park. He did 100 bold predictions. And so you start seeing national ideas and you say, okay, we can kind of look at what they say, and then we can create our own as well. So I said to Christian, who's great, he's somebody that if you want to know just a little bit more about him, Christian Booher, he was somebody that was referred to me by Evan Petzold, the Free Press Detroit Tigers beat writer. Real fast story there. 10 years ago, when Evan was 17, 18, he said, hey, John, he found me and was one of the rare people that reached out and said, hey, I want to put some content on DetroitSportsPodcast.com. I said, sure. And Evan just took off from there, went to college, and you saw I take pride in recognizing talent around Detroit, and Evan was a great individual. You can see the quality work that he does for the Free Press. And so I was like, man, when I saw him getting the job, I was like, oh my God, he wrote for us. And then I reached out to him. I said, hey, do you trust anybody at Central that you can say maybe could do this job? And Christian, he's like, talk to Christian. And so I've worked with Christian for 4 years now. And he's a great journalist, and he took to the job amazingly well. He deals with me and my OCD and just being like, hey, we got to do this way. And he's great. He's been molded now to be a great NFL reporter. And I'm so thankful that he stuck with it and went through the way I do things. And others couldn't handle it, and he did. And the proof's in the pudding. His articles are well read. People talk about it in a lot of different ways. But he wanted to put something bold out there. And Jared Goff, look, knock on wood, he's been healthy the last couple years. And so he was thinking along the lines, if you check it out at All Lions, well, maybe if Jared Goff rolls an ankle or something happens, then potentially, as a bold prediction, maybe Hendon Hooker does end up playing a little bit this year, as opposed to many people thinking he's just going to sit the bench. Now, if Hendon Hooker, guys, I hate to say it to you, I don't want to break the news to everybody, but if Hendon Hooker shines, if he gets out there, let's knock on wood, Jared Goff has been durable. If he gets out there and he does shine, let's presume that's a great thing. That just increases his trade value down the road. It just gives everybody a lot of confidence that you have a backup that can do the job. And look, for Hendon Hooker, at this point, he's pretty raw. And, Jared Goff has the contract. So the dream scenario, the Tom Brady scenario where you get this superstar that comes in and just lights the world on fire, I don't really see that happening with Hendon Hooker. I don't see him stealing Jared Goff's job. Now, would that be fantastic? Would that be something where all of a sudden Hendon Hooker becomes a Hall of Famer and is the next big thing in the NFL? That would shock me. That would be something that I've been clamoring for the entire time I've covered sports in Detroit, to have the single best quarterback in the NFL that is Tom Brady like would be something that I've been clamoring for since I turned on a microphone 12 years ago. But look, Hendon Hooker is he's a developing player. And he's a guy that just needs to learn, continue to work on the fundamentals. He's just seeing the field for the first time this year in the NFL. And, we asked a lot of the coaches, what are the differences in this offense versus the Tennessee offenses? And Ben Johnson's offense is so different. He's got to do a lot more checks, got to do a lot more surveying the field. He's got to do a lot more. And so he's taking his lumps. That's what he did all spring. And in training camp, when you have the pads on, he's probably going to take more lumps. The defense is going to, when he's out there, going to try to embarrass him. And he's going to learn as fast as humanly possible. But in both predictions, guys, look, I know people talk about them, but the purpose of that really is to just say, hey, what are some potential big things that could happen for some players or some things outside of the box that could happen? And so Christian did a great job. A lot of people talked about it. A lot of people read it. And it's one of those things where, if he does end up, you hope that you never hope injury for the starter, but you hope that, hey, if something does happen to Jared and it's 1 or 2 game thing, in week 14, 15, you get a chance to at least see what Hendon Hooker has learned and what it's like for him to face off against a division opponent. Hey, you hope that you already have a lot of things locked up. And maybe this year, you aim for having such a great record that the last game of the year is the human victory cigar and Hendon Hooker can start it.
That would be something.
Handle business, and let's see what he's about against a real NFL defense. But bold predictions, I know we get a lot of heat online for those bold predictions, but at least from the national site, Sports Illustrated, they've been showing a lot of love to the Detroit Lions, talking about Super Bowls, MVP talks. So thankfully, the hardest part of the job is when the national site writes stuff that's not great, because then they tie you with it and you're like, oh my God, just read read each individual writer and stop lumping everybody all together as one big family. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this writer thinks this. It doesn't necessarily mean the whole company thinks that. And it's the same thing with the story I wrote today about the safeties on the Lions getting snubbed. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler did not rank the Lions safeties, any of them, in the top 10, but it's not a reflection of the entire ESPN company. It's one writer doing a good job of putting out his opinion, and we talk about it, and that's what sports is about. But sometimes we take a lot of heat. The bold predictions, man, it's a little bit more fun, lighthearted in the offseason.
Yeah, we did bold prediction last week. The one that I threw out there, I think a lot of people were taken back, was I said Jared Goff will be at the NFL awards as a finalist for the MVP award.
Why not? Yeah.
It seems realistic, but it's out there a little bit.
But Booner, if you were working for me, I would say the true definition, I mean, is it really bold to say Jared Goff's going to have an MVP season and win when you look at the talent? The bold prediction would be Hendon Hooker steals Jared Goff's job. I'd say be bold. Don't be scared. That's bold.
Doc.
Bold. Why not? That's bold. That's something that's the true definition of bold. People, look, see how you reacted? That's the secret. Man. That's the secret sauce of a bold prediction that's done right. You got to be bold. What's the point of putting out Jared Goff's going to win MVP? That's great. But an editor like me is going to be like, okay, yeah, I already kind of know that Jared Goff's great, J-Mo's great, Amon-Ra's great. So those kind of things that's why when I read it from what he talked about Hendon being playing a little bit, I said, okay, good job, Christian. You threw a little zing in there that made me think a little bit. Be bold. Be bold. That's the key.
I got a tattoo that says "Be bold" right across my chest. I'm just kidding. I don't.
Say no way you do, Boo. I would think that'd be crazy. But Doc, you kind of just brought it up as far as the safety room goes. We talked about Kirby and Iffy a lot yesterday. When you look at that free safety position specifically, and with Kirby being out during training camp, one, did they play Iffy a lot, the free safety position? And do you think between those two that they're going to be taking away snaps from each other? Or do you think Iffy's going to be more so on the nickel and strong safety side of things? Yeah, no doubt. That's the big question, right? How are the Lions going to handle the safety room? And it's a great problem to have. You look at it, I like Ifeatu Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph, and I like mixing Brian Branch at the nickel spot with Amik Robertson. And I just think that, I understand where Dan Campbell says, hey, we're going to play Brian Branch more at safety, and the opportunities are there against different opponents and different matchups. But boy, Ifeatu Melifonwu, boy, what a lucky emergence that he had in terms of finally putting it together, staying healthy, and being able to complement Kirby Joseph. I like at this point Ifeatu Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph. I think they complement each other well, both ball hawking, both physical, and can do a lot of things. For Ifeatu Melifonwu, the challenge has been staying healthy, but you see now that in workouts, he's bulked up. He's trying to do his best to stay out there and continue to maybe have a chance to earn his next contract. And Brian Branch, that's something that I think is great in that certain spots. You can put him at nickel against certain opponents
and then you can put him back there at safety to shine. So I think that in the ESPN article, I think that they were a little bit inaccurate, not putting Brian Branch maybe even at 8, 9, or 10, and just only giving him an honorable mention. I think Brian Branch is somebody that is going to emerge. And I think that, the early sign, it's tough to project, like, okay, how many defensive snap counts are these guys going to get? Because it's going to be based on opponents' matchups and kind of week to week how they view how opponents are going to attack the Detroit Lions secondary. And you realize, okay, if there's going to be more of a quarterback that's not as mobile, you can have Ifeatu Melifonwu out there getting up to the line. And you saw what a great blitzer he is, what a great individual that he is to pressure the quarterback moving up to potentially, cause pressure. And then maybe in certain moments when you have a good slot wideout or wideouts that are a little bit more prone to be active, then you could put Branch back there and try and take away the middle of the field to force, the teams into being one-dimensional. But I think all three are going to play a whole heck of a lot. And Brian Branch, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Kirby Joseph, if they all stay healthy, I think they're going to have one. That's why you're not seeing a veteran come in other than CJ Moore and Brandon Joseph. I think they're happy with the top three at safety, and then the depth that they have is getting better. And pay attention to Brandon Joseph. If he has a training camp that is solid, then, hey, you got another option that can take some reps at certain spots.
And Doc, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, just the workload between Jahmyr Gibbs and Monty and how we expect that to go next year. And I've kind of been strict on the point that if you go away from Montgomery, if you don't keep it honest with those two, it won't work out as well as some people may expect, overloading maybe with Gibbs or vice versa. What are your thoughts on that? And just how do you expect the workload to go as far as that RB room goes?
Yeah, running backs, huh? That's great. It's a great situation. You guys all saw David Montgomery doing his thing, deadlifting over 700 pounds. And then this week was crazy. At some points in the offseason, you think there's a lull, and all of a sudden, all the Lions are doing podcasts. Amon-Ra St. Brown's show. There's so much to talk about. But real fast before I give my thoughts, Dennis Wick, you got a potty mouth, and you got to listen. People can read what you're talking about, but I'll say this: Lucas can do whatever the heck he wants. He's the boss. He's the ball. He's the ball knower. So you guys out there in the chat are great. But if you have any questions, drop them. I'll ask. But Dennis Wick, your comment there caught my attention. I don't think my mom at 74 can be doing what you're thinking she's going to be doing. So have some respect for the DOC's mom. My God. But I'll say this about the running backs, man. I do think, for me, I love what Jahmyr Gibbs can do. So to me, I am in that camp of not dismissing David Montgomery, but it's a great problem to have because Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is going to get a bulk of some offensive targets in the passing game. And it's just a great situation with the running backs, with David Montgomery being able to set the tone early, and then Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that, for Dan Campbell, I think that style of having a guy that can, run in between the tackles strong, average over 4 yards a carry, and then having more of a home run threat like a Jahmyr Gibbs is a perfect complement. And I just think that, in the end, sometimes you ride the hot hand. And Jahmyr Gibbs, if he can, I think that fumble that he had in the NFC Championship game, if it has the intended consequence of, hey, him feeling burned inside, he's going to want to come out this year and light the NFL on fire, because he also had a real bad play in a critical moment in the NFC Championship game. I do see a big leap from him. And I just think you have a 1-2 punch combination that is going to be great. And I echo the sentiments of everybody else, all the beat writers that are confident that, hey, you have two running backs that can do it all. And now it's a situation in which, hey, when you need to run the ball behind that offensive line, you give it to David Montgomery late and you can, wear out teams. And then Jahmyr Gibbs just being able to, have that speed, burst, elusivity, and now what they want him to do is catch more balls. Man, Jahmyr Gibbs has a chance to shine and really do some big things. I think that, his upside is a little bit higher than David Montgomery, but don't discount. Look, listen to that podcast. And I sent it to Booner. I said, hey, this podcast is legit. He was like, hey, I had no real offers other than a couple, and I chose Iowa State. He's like, I got a family to feed. I got work to do. And he said something in the podcast interview that was great. He said, look, many people are going to want to pit us against each other. And that's just foolish. He's like, look, I need to set an example for the guys younger to get to their potential. And if everybody's talking about Jahmyr Gibbs being this highly touted individual, I got to work just as hard or even harder to show him, hey, this is what you need to do. And having a veteran that's hungry, that also feels disrespected, that, hey, when Jahmyr Gibbs comes to town, everybody dismisses David Montgomery. No, David's going to get his share, and I think he'll have 1,000 yards, and he'll do a lot of big things. You saw him running into the end zone quite a bit. And I'll say this, I heard your talk about fantasy football, and I took a chance and drafted David Montgomery and Sam Laporta for 2023, and they led me all the way deep into the postseason. That MF for Justin Jefferson got hurt at a key moment in the season, and an injury took me out of a championship run. So I think I got second place this year. So I had the best year I ever had. David Montgomery and Sam Laporta just were lighting it up. So I see that continuing, where David Montgomery can be a guy you can rely upon in the red zone.
And Doc, just real quick too, on the other side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, I just because we're gonna have a segment in a little bit about this, but and we already did it on the offensive side, but I'm interested to hear on defense who you think kind of going into this season and training camp and then into the regular season, who on that side of the ball has the most pressure heading into this year. I think that's like an interesting thought, at least for me. I don't know if it's just because I'm a little like obsessed with the Lions, but I'm just like trying to find different players on this team where it's like let's keep a close eye on this guy because he's got a lot of pressure going into 2024. Who would that be for you?
Yeah, to me, I think that the safeties are pretty solid. You have a lot of confidence there. I think the guy that needs to take the biggest step based on what you saw his rookie season is Jack Campbell. If Jack Campbell can be somebody that's more stout against the run, reads and recognizes plays just faster, and doesn't overcommit and understands his keys and sticks to the fundamentals, then you understand that this guy has a chance to be the leader and be somebody that can be a little bit more impactful. He did have a lot of tackles. He was somebody around the football. He did have a decent rookie season, but not one that you would classify as being, worthy of being a first-round pick. So he needs to take that jump. And I wouldn't say pressure. I just say that he needs to have that second-year growth that everybody expects he's going to have. And I think he's going to definitely live up to the expectation. He's a hard worker. He's somebody that is really tough on himself, has that. I think he's the Amon-Ra St. Brown of the defense. I think that guy does not like making mistakes. And he was actually told you rarely see that from Kelvin Shepard, where he tells him, hey, man, are you having some fun? Like, yes, it's serious. Yes, I'm going to chew you out, but have a little bit of fun, smile a little bit. And throughout the year, he did loosen up a little bit and was somebody that opened up a little bit more, but he took his craft very seriously. And I think that he wants to and play at a high level. And then probably the next person that I think that is going to have some pressure to, I don't think it's going to be something where he doesn't live up to the billing, but I think James Houston has the mantle right now as being the guy that people expect, hey, come back and do the job and be the guy opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Many people believe that, hey, when you have 8 sacks in your debut season and it's coming after Thanksgiving, that puts you on notice for a lot of different things. And I think that for James Houston, I think the pressure is going to be there to be that guy to get the sacks. And that's one of those big things that you say, hey, this is your job, is to also with the Detroit Lions is, okay, yeah, you can do one thing, but they want him to do a bunch of more things in regards to in coverage, tackling, recognizing where he needs to be at certain plays and stop, and for the Detroit Lions, they sometimes don't need you to get the sack on this play. Like, your job is to fill this gap and make sure that the edge is set. Like, hey, this running back cannot go outside of this spot. Like, or if the quarterback is going to roam, you have to set the edge and not let the running back get 15 yards on a scramble. And sometimes you overcommit and over pursue, and you sometimes forget your fundamentals. And that's number one thing that for James Houston is continuing to earn the trust of the coaching staff that, hey, you need to be where you need to be, because if it doesn't, then it's so intricate that if an edge doesn't do the job and set the edge and be where he's supposed to be, that can cause a lot of different problems with tackling and responsibilities on the back end. So I think that the two, to answer your question, Jack Campbell, James Houston have some work to do to continue their growth in this defense.
I like those.
Kind of going along with that, Doc, when you look at Jack Campbell and you look at Alex Anzalone, which one of those two do you think will have the better season next year? Because I know that people have high hopes for Jack Campbell and see him improving, but I do think that Alex Anzalone goes out and has the best season of his career this year.
Absolutely. And I believe that wholeheartedly, that he's going to take the challenge up that, hey, this is a football team that continues to need veteran leadership. I thought that, when you look at a player that also embodies what the Lions are about, he came in as a guy that was familiar with Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn. And I think he's going to be very he's somebody that, was also dogged by many people his first year as saying, hey, he's too slow. He can't cover. He's not a good tackler. But then he continued to progress and understand exactly what Aaron Glenn wanted with better supporting cast. And you recognize now with a better defensive line and a better secondary, I think you're absolutely right. Alex Anzalone is going to continue to shine. He made a lot of good plays, was around the football quite a bit. And his mentorship of Derek Barnes, it does not go understated. He's somebody that's going to lead Derek Barnes and Jack Campbell and is going to set the tone. And if someone like me gets out of order, maybe he'll have to rough me up for a second consecutive year and keep me from chirping too much if I get out of order. But Alex Anzalone's a good dude. And I think that when you look at it, someone now getting closer to the end of his career, he can feel comfortable that, hey, he did the best that he could and maximize his talent. And he earned that contract that he got, and he's going to continue to shine and be somebody, too, that you recognize. The Lions will sacrifice some talent for those that bust their ass. When, he got dinged up there late in the year, worked his tail off to continue to play and be around the guys and do the things that he needed to do. And you look at those kind of things resonate with a coaching staff is, hey, a guy that's supremely tough, gritty, and can lead a young group of linebackers. I think he's a perfect fit for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and Doc, I think we talked about this last time. You kind of mentioned the Cade Cunningham extension and your stance on that, and if you would get rid of him now that extension is done. Yes. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
I've been waiting for this question from you.
Please don't sink the viewership talking Pistons. But I want to make sure everybody understands this, man. The Pistons, at least Bickerstaff had a little bit more energy in his press conference than Monty probably ever had. At least he talked the game. He actually listened to the PR guy and said, hey, say this. Talk about energy. Talk about fit. Talk about guys working hard. And you look at Cade Cunningham, and look, while that max rookie contract is massive, you got to pay it to him. I think that he showcased that he can drop over 25 points a game, and you barely gave him a supporting cast. And I think that at least now with some shooters around him, look, they're not elite. They're good. They're better than what you had. So that's a start for Trajan Langdon is, okay, do it. Look, that's what we've been trying to say with the Tigers is you have a bunch of young guys, but surround them with a proven player that can kind of, when there is a lull offensively, can step it up. Thankfully, Colt Keith has been lighting it up. But Cade Cunningham, I think, is going to fully develop into being a very much an above-average player that can contribute at a very high level, near 26 to 30 points a game, and have a lot of assists. And I think, look, if you can get this year into the high 20s in wins, that'll be fine. Some development while you continue to add draft picks. And look, the Pistons are a long way away from being competitive. I said it on the latest Doc and Jock podcast. I'm jealous of the Cavs. I'm jealous of the Pacers, jealous of the Magic, jealous of the Rockets. They're further along. But for the Pistons, look, I'm a supporter. I'll always support the Detroit Pistons, but they're starting from a way in their organization is in a deep hole, but they're working their way to claw out. And this upcoming year will be about further development and seeing how the vets that they added and the signing of Beasley is underrated. I think he'll do a good job. Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway, you know what you get. So at least I think they're not going to be as atrocious as they were in 2023. Cade Cunningham, I think, look, a grinder. Let's just hope, fingers crossed, he stays healthy. And that's all you can ask for a player of his caliber. I think he'll do some good things. He'll make Detroit proud.
All right, Doc, we've got some chat questions. Actually, I'm just, real quick. I want to throw this out there. You cover the Tigers too. I was gonna skip over this question because everyone loves the Lions, but are the Tigers trading Skubal or Flaherty? I'm just gonna simple as that. Are they gonna trade him or are they gonna keep him? Where are we at?
And
Skubal,
also,
yeah,
two-part
Tariq
question.
Skubal, I would say no.
Just kidding.
I would say that he stays. Flaherty, they'll entertain offers, and it'll be interesting, intriguing to see if that's the case. Here's the dilemma. Right when you thought that, okay, sell mode, they go into a winning streak here. And look.
Bye.
Yeah, we had the debate on Doc and Jock, and that question was asked by my co-host. What do they do? And I just think that, you know what? You just take the easy route. You just stand pat. Don't trade. Don't add. Just stick with what you got. And you told everybody, hey, we're looking at development. We're looking at what these guys got. You now have Colt Keith, who's emerging with a hot streak. His bats come on fire. Riley Green is showing that he can do a lot of things. Now you have these starters, and I think finally they recognized, okay, Maeda is god-awful, and I'm surprised they just didn't just pay him out to leave. But, hey, let's see. Let's just hope Maeda doesn't get put in high-leverage situations, and I think Maeda should be let's set the number. He should be the reliever that comes in when the Tigers have a 6-run lead, and we can all feel comfortable. That's it. Other than 6-run leads, Maeda, sit your ass on the bench and just do what you got to do. And I look at the starters, Tariq Skubal, my goodness, what a bulldog. I've always respected what he can do coming back from a major arm injury. And now the hitters are starting. Okay, if you can be a little bit more consistent in their approach and not have these like wild, swings of having, 10 runs one day and then no runs for a stretch. You look at it, when they put up more than 5 runs, it's a competitive baseball team. It stinks because, Scott Harris probably should come out one more time and say it when he goes on these MLB shows. He should just say, and he say it loud because Bickerstaff said it, Yzerman said it, Brad Holmes has said it.
Stevie bye.
We're not cutting corners. We're not jumping steps. So for the Detroit Tigers, just ride out the season. It's an average team, and take your 85 wins and look to next year to spend some money and bring some vets and some more development from some of the younger guys. Guys, it's an average baseball team, and I think that you just continue Scott Harris said it. The plan is to let the young guys play, learn, and let's evaluate what they got. And luckily right now, hopefully, you can get some better answers on Colt Keith, Parker Meadows, Riley Green, and I think we're getting some bad answers on Spencer Torkelson. But that's how it goes.
That's what I was going to ask, but one little thing. So obviously if they keep this up and they keep the stretch going, you don't think they should go out and maybe inquire about a bat? And second, 2-part question. Are we just chalking Spencer Torkelson now? Is he done for? Like, is all hope gone, Doc?
It's one of those things where Spencer Torkelson may not end up living up to the hype of the number 1 pick, but maybe if there's an opportunity to trade him for a lower tier prospect, you move on, and there's always that chance he shines with somebody else. It just may not end up working out here for whatever reason. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I just think that when you have the 30 home run capability, it's there, and for whatever reason, it catches up to you when opponents make adjustments, and they figured out that he struggles with the fastball and he hasn't caught up to it as much as he did last year. So I think that potentially maybe in Detroit it's not going to happen, but Spencer Torkelson has the talent. He's got the ability and the natural talent to do some things, but it's one of those things where you got to be consistent, and that's why he's unfortunately in the minor leagues. But I look at it and I say this is where Scott Harris has got to be creative, and that was the really thesis of my podcast this week. If you listen to it, it comes out every Thursday. I said that kind of the rebuilds have kind of just taken a real slow, linear approach. I haven't seen stellar creativity like you see with Brad Holmes, maneuvering the draft, adding picks, dropping key guys, adding pieces, going outside the box of what people think. I haven't really seen that with the other 3 leaders in regards to kind of, hey, just make some bold moves, make a signing that is outside the box that nobody's thinking about that ends up succeeding. And you look at Scott Harris, you come in and you give what on earth would allow you to give Maeda a 2-year deal for that much money? He was awful before, and he's awful now. So you look at it and you say, man, what a whiff there. He made a mistake last year with Erod in regards to trading him to a team that he clearly didn't want to go to. He bungled that. So he's made some mistakes along the way. And at this level, you can't have a leader that is learning on the job. And he was supposed to be somebody that could identify talent and be a little creative. And so that's where it gets a little difficult, is that you're not seeing the bold moves that kind of can expedite a rebuild. Everybody's and I don't know. Like I said, I've said it here and I've said it elsewhere. I think that when you have Chris Ilitch as the guy writing the check, Steve Yzerman and Scott Harris are like, Chris, this is going to take 6-7 years, no doubt about it. And you got Tom Gores, who's probably not even as great, not even as competent as Chris Ilitch. When you look at what he does, you got Trajan Langdon probably said the same thing. Tom, this is going to take 8 years to get this right. And Tom's like, all right, let's do it. And you're like, honestly, the test I would have is, and I wish it could happen, but I would say this, the test I would have, and this is what I said on the podcast, I said, if you could cut all those guys a check for $500K each and said, hey, get us to the playoffs this year, no matter what, you get $500K, they would do it. You know what I mean? And so that's where I say there's no urgency. There's no urgency with the Pistons, Tigers, and Wings to kind of get this done faster to a starving fan base. They're all selling, hey, this is a sick. I mean, it's smart to do. I think that's what maybe Ken Holland was a genius before we even thought about it. He told the world publicly, rebuilds in the NHL take 10 years. So I wonder if these GMs are like, you know what? These owners are paying us $3-4 million a year.
Wild.
6 years. It takes 6 years to rebuild. Well, in the sports world, my God, there's no patience for that. That's why people are starting to whisper about Yzerman. It's been 5 years, no playoffs. And he comes out publicly and sits back comfortably. He's like, I'm not exactly sure we're going to be in the playoffs next year. I'm like, what the hell? You can't say that.
Stevie bye.
That is crazy.
Stevie bye.
I might be dead in 6 years before those rebuilds are done. Doc, do you have a couple more minutes for some member questions?
Absolutely. What do you guys need?
All right, let's do this one here, because this is one, the bold predictions. I actually gave this bold prediction out last week. It says, Doc, will the Lions make history and have 2 1,000-yard rushers and 2 1,000-yard receivers, which has not been done in NFL history. What do you think?
What a goal, huh? Absolutely. Why not? You absolutely think that David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs could get 1,000 yards. You expect time of possession to be great. The 1,000-yard receiver, you're going to need J-Mo to step it up a little bit. But absolutely, there's an opportunity. I think that you can count more on the running backs than the receivers, because I think now the word's out there that, hey, you got to double team Amon-Ra, and let's see what J-Mo's going to do. So it's going to be great to see this offense. That's one of the most exciting things I'm excited for after watching receivers, was just seeing that offense and how precise it is. It's only going to get better. So you can dream that they can accomplish this offense. You can have confidence that they have the opportunity to accomplish historic things. The talent level is there, and it's great. It's wild to see.
And then this one, let's do this one to finish us off here. What's the surprise player here from Shane Smith that will get cut, or another team that might cut? I would just say for the Detroit Lions, who's the surprise player there, Doc?
Yeah, and a lot of people are talking about John Kaminsky as somebody that's got to fight for his job, because there's so much depth now on the defensive line. Unfortunately, you look at it, and I can echo what Jeremy said, that I think it's going to be tough. And Jeremy made some great points, and I've said it too as well. I think Jake Bates has his work cut out for him. I think everybody wants him to have the job. He's got a big leg, but I think Jeremy's said it perfectly. He's going to have to crush and dominate in the competition to overtake the incumbent. And Badgley, I think, is somebody that is up for the challenge. So I think Jake Bates is somebody that probably has an uphill climb. And then probably somebody that's not as popular, Betts, I think, has an uphill climb. Betts has a tough uphill climb to make this roster. BETTS, it's tough, man. It's tough. And they're also asking him to do some things differently than he's used to. They want him more in coverage. And so he's got a tough gig. He's got an uphill battle to climb. But I do think he's got a chance to make the practice squad if he's not on the active. So we'll see.
I have all the faith in Matthew Betts. That man
Betts.
will go in there.
Betts and Bates, huh?
Yes.
Betts and Bates.
Those are the guys. Doc,
Those are
appreciate
our
you
guys.
hopping on with us again. I'm going to let you do it real quick, but you could shout out everything, socials, your page, all of that. I don't want to mess it up here, so I'm going to be a good host today. I'm going to let you go ahead and shout everything out there, Doc.
No, it's all good. I want to leave you with this thought, okay? So I was thinking, look, John Maakaron, Detroit Lions, SI. You can find me. You guys can rewind and know. I've talked a lot about myself. I was thinking this, okay? So because obviously, clearly, I saw that Amon-Ra St. Brown's girlfriend was trending. So you look at it, Amon-Ra St. Brown, girlfriend. Jahmyr Gibbs, girlfriend. Jared Goff, married. J-Mo, I was thinking just beforehand, is he playing the field or does he not have game? Because I could see him walking in.
That, John.
So the question is, does he have game or is he smart and not getting locked down and doing his thing on the down low? Because I look at it and I say, you know what? Just based on how he talks to the media, I could see him kind of being that shy individual that kind of, doesn't have the game to kind of back up what he's got going on. But I say, you know what? At the same token, maybe he's also smart enough not to have a girlfriend and just play the field. Because when you're somebody of that caliber, what do you guys think? Is he playing the field or does he not have game?
He's
All
smart.
the other guys are doing the WAG thing, wives and girlfriends.
He's keeping the bag to himself, John.
Yeah, J-Mo's doing just fine for himself,
Yeah.
especially in Detroit. He's doing just fine.
I'll say this, Doc.
Okay, I have a question. That's where my mind went. Why isn't he posting? He posts everything else.
Because he's being smart about it, Doc.
Yeah.
It's the social media age. You post that picture now, let's say he picks up a girlfriend in 3 years. She's going to be going to his tagged photos, whatever. And that picture from 3 years ago that's posted, and she's in the very back corner. She's going to be asking, who is this? Who is this? And now he's got to deal with an off-the-field distraction. You got to just minimize all the possible situations. He's being smart.
And I will say, just like Amon-Ra St. Brown's dad said in the receivers thing, he told his sons growing up, stay away from relationships. They're bad. If you want to be an NFL player, stay away from it. I was told the same thing in high school. My high school coach always said, I was a shooter. And he said, you know what? Every day he would walk up to me. I would make 1,000 shots a day. And he would come up to me like, you want to know what would mess that shot up and will make you stop making shots? And I'm like, what? A girlfriend. And I'm like, okay. So I had girlfriends at points, but there was times where it's like distractions out. I think J-Mo, guess what's gonna make you worse on the jugs machine? Having a girlfriend. Don't mess with it right now. Go get yourself a Super Bowl, and then you can go find someone.
Okay,
you can get the other jugs later.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking. And
I'll give you off the screen here
because of receivers. Yeah, I'm more in the old school Mr. Brown Dream Crusher kind of thing. Keep it professional, keep it going, and hopefully J-Mo can live up to expectations. I'm married, so I don't have to worry about that. I've been married 17 years. So
there we go.
Listen, after you guys, I'll just share this on the way out. Football, X's and O's, all that stuff. When I post a story about Jared Goff traveling to Greece, it way outdoes everything football-wise. So you guys are the ones reading that kind of shit and paying attention to it. It's not me. I was just thinking about it beforehand. I just wanted to share what I was thinking beforehand. So you guys think he's on the down low. Okay, I can agree with that. See you, fellas. I can't wait to talk next week.
Love you, Doc. Can't wait to see you next
Doc.
Wednesday. No, he just hops out. Absolute.
Didn't even plug it. He didn't even plug himself.
I know. I said, Doc, plug yourself, and he said, "No, I want to get the girl information from you boys."
I cannot wait till we get on the golf course with Doc. It's gonna be an epic time.
I can't believe Jeff went and we weren't able to go. Like, I would have loved to have been a part of that match. Hopefully, we get that soon. Hey, real quick here, certified supply chain professional, 55. Survive Crunch Time Sports membership. Shout out to Certified Supply Chain. I appreciate you guys. Or please appreciate you. The Doc thing at the end really caught me off guard. I'm not gonna lie. the girl certified. Oh man. All right, let's keep this show rolling, boys. Let's keep this going. Let's go. Can we just circle back real quick? I want to know your guys' defensive players for the Detroit Lions under the most pressure, and then I have an article I want to show you guys, and then we'll hit mailbag. So we'll Gentry, Klotz, and then I'll go. Gentry, you want to go first? Your Detroit Lions defensive side of the ball. Who's under the most pressure right here?
All right, so I had a tough time with this one, and I kind of wanted to vary myself from what you guys were going to pick. And it's not that I don't think, just like J-Mo, that this person can't live up to the expectations, but mine is Carlton Davis. Because the Lions, as you know, last year had terrible cornerbacks. We had Kendall Vildor out there in crucial situations. So we've been looking for this cornerback one, and we thought we had one with Cameron Sutton. Obviously, that was not the case. But we are hoping that Carlton Davis is that guy moving forward. And if he's not, he's on a contract here right now. He's going to hopefully get paid next year if he plays well. And if he doesn't play well, you have another cornerback one that you drafted first round in Terrion Arnold that is expected to be a cornerback one for the rest of his career. So it's not that I don't think that Carlton Davis can or is under pressure and that he cannot live up to that and he cannot succeed. It's just I think that there's a lot of expectations for him. We need that cornerback one. That was our biggest downfall last year. Our secondary was Swiss cheese. So Carlton Davis, you need to step up day one.
I'm going to kind of go with the same narrative that I was going with the first one. I think it's got to be Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, we know what Aiden Hutchinson can do. We're not denying the talent there. But Aiden Hutchinson's a player that I think nationally is not even just in Detroit, is a player that is being looked at possibly as a defensive player of the year candidate. Secondary has improved, so that's going to make his job easier as well. You add in DJ Reader, and you look at the emergence of Jack Campbell possibly. Alex Anzalone is going to be having his best season. So if this defense doesn't step up, it's not solely to blame Aiden Hutchinson, but they're going to be looking at, okay, Aiden Hutchinson, why didn't you get 15 sacks? If it doesn't. But if he gets 15 sacks, then all the praise is there. But if he doesn't, if he kind of falls a little short this year, there's going to be a lot of questions about him being the number 2 overall pick.
Survived. Shout out.
Survived
certified supply and chain professional. Another 5 Crunch Time Sports memberships he gifted to the people, man. Shout out to him, man. He's absolutely him or her. I don't know. Shout out though.
Dog.
That's nuts. I don't hate those two guys. Like the Carlton Davis one, I could see that. Like I think situationally, like if Carlton Davis knows Terrion Arnold's right there and he knows he's on a 1-year deal, like he knows that pressure's on there for him to perform. And if he doesn't, then Terrion gets that spot and he takes over. So but he is a vet, so I think he does it. It's like the same thing with the offense with J-Mo. I think he does it. I just think it's more so like that. Hey, you better be. What are the last couple CB1s here in Detroit? Jeff Okudah and Cam Sutton. Guess what they did? They got cooked. That's brutal.
That's brutal.
I mean, isn't it, bro? You have so much pressure. I'm gonna go something different here, though.
Laughed at his own joke.
That's brutal.
You guys are killing me tonight. I'm gonna do something different, though. I'm not even gonna do a player. I'm going Aaron Glenn. I'm going AG.
Oh,
the most pressure.
Lay off AG or Boone?
No, it's not laying off. It's not. I'm not coming at AG at all. I just think
come out of the shadows.
Yeah, if you're in AG's position right now, you're going into year 4 as a DC. Let me find my notes real quick. Are you ready for this? In 2021, they had the 31st worst defense in the NFL. In 2022, the 28th defense in the NFL, and they moved up in 2023 to the 23rd defense in the worst defense in the NFL. So they have been outside the top 23 every single year he's been in the DC. And I think we all know what it was. It was that he doesn't have the personnel, and he was trying to find all these different ways to use what he had to be able to do it. I think this year we've talked about it a million times on our show. I think I've said this before. I think he has the chess pieces to be able to step up and go out there and make and kind of get the job done. And I think at this point, Klotzy, you've agreed with me on this a million times. 0 excuses now. You have everything you need. The only thing you're missing is another edge rusher maybe, but you still have James Houston and Marcus Davenport. I think like if we do think about it, the most pressure on this, like if the defense doesn't perform, guess whose job's on the line come week 8, week 9? That's AG. Like the people are going to be looking at AG and say, hey, we thought we gave you the pieces. Brad Holmes is going to say, hey, I drafted defense this year. I went out and got Carlton Davis. I went out and got DJ Reader. I got you what you needed. And I think he does it too. I do. Yeah. Is that a bad one? Is AG a bad one? I think like there's a lot of pressure on him.
I mean, I think overall, if you're just going to say defensive side of the ball, yeah, it is AG. But to your point, Aaron Glenn is one of the things I'm most confident about heading into this season, because the fact that he was able to make this defense look at least half what reputable around the league when you look at the certain situations they were in. Like, yeah, you already knew that you were going to get burnt down the field, but when push came to shove, the Lions, when they need to get a key stop, a lot of the times they were, and they didn't have the personnel to be doing it. So now that they have the personnel to do it, I think Aaron Glenn, he plays an aggressive style of defense, man-to-man style of defense, and that style of defense is what's successful in the NFL because that's what allows you to make plays and score more points for your offense. So I think Aaron Glenn, he's going to ball out this year, and I think it's only a matter of time till he gets a head coaching job with the personnel that he has now.
I do think that's like why he might like he does have pressure, but he knows that there's a chance he's going to get a head coaching job, even if they're not top 10. I just think he's got that. Matthew Evans here, shout out, member for 5 months. He said D-line coach Terrell Williams is going to turn that D-line into a monster. I do think that's. I don't think he has it. I don't think he has a lot of pressure, but I think he knows what he's about to do with that defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any other ones here before we move on?
It's trying to think. I mean, I guess you could say, it's very much not as much of an impactful piece, but Emmanuel Mosley and I think Levi, both are guys that have a lot of pressure on him. Emmanuel Mosley, as far as he's coming off another major injury, he was the guy that was supposed to be starting last year for this team. And now they added so much into this cornerback room that it's going to be hard for him if he has a slow start to make the roster. And that's a guy that really late in the season, a veteran cornerback that, yeah, he might not be the best on the field, but as far as mentoring these guys could be very useful. I think there's some pressure for him. Then I had not too much to say about Jack Campbell that Doc didn't. And Levi, I've preached on 1,000 times. Marcus Davenport, a lot of pressure as well. I think there's some pressure for him.
Yeah, James
Houston, yeah, but I think Marcus Davenport's going to be on the field more, and there's more expectations for him. Like, I think Marcus Davenport's a guy that you expect as a Lions fan. You sign him to contribute right away. James Houston, I think people will see as a project, so they'll be disappointed, but they're not going to be as much of like, oh, what the fuck if he doesn't pan out compared to Marcus Davenport, because Marcus Davenport's a guy that has done it around the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
One done it.
I've got this next thing. I know we only have let's do like 5 or 7 minutes on this next thing because I want to get your guys' reaction on this, and same with the people. We've got 117 people. If you guys haven't hit the like button, hit the like for the boys and Doc talking about Jameson Williams' love life. Huh?
Shout out. Yeah, that was the last
hit
thing
the
I
like
Doc
button.
Bring up.
Yeah, I was shocked, but hit the like button.
The unexpected. That's why he's the Doc. It's the
there is this article that came out on ESPN today, fellas.
All right.
Or maybe it was yesterday. Very interesting article. Essentially what it was ESPN ranked all 32 teams, and the ranking is for the best wide receiver, running back, and tight end, like trio,
basically like
I guess.
Skill. So like skill and big skill.
Skill positions, no quarterback, just running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. I want to go through this list and see where the Lions are. I already obviously know, but I'm gonna start at 1 and go all the way until we get to the Lions, and then we can discuss it. So if you guys, I'm not gonna read. I'm not gonna go Jeff mode on here and read every single paragraph. But I'll read. We'll go over and we'll talk about each one a little bit. So obviously, number 1, the 49ers with Debo, George, Jawan Jennings is on there. Klotzy, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, Christian McCaffrey. Like, I think this is an easy one, right?
Yeah. Even if they lose Ayuk, I still think they could have a combo for 1.
Yeah, I agree with Ricky Pearsall. I'm excited to see Ricky Pearsall. All right, number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen.
Yeah, this is.
Wait. Oh, never mind. I saw Jalen Hurts on the list, but I think they were just saying he has his receivers. Yeah. What do you guys' thoughts on here?
I mean,
like another one where it's hard to dispute.
Yeah, I know. This is kind of, I've been, sticking by the Eagles, and I think they're going to bounce back. They have, some of the best skill positions in the league as far as the offensive side of the ball goes. So no disagreements. Yeah,
and I think now that they added Saquon Barkley, that kind of puts it off. And I saw someone in the chat here put, I thought it was 1 wide receiver tight end. It might have been that. I think I just didn't read the front of it. I just had the article said wide receiver tight end. The article said wide receiver, tight end, running back. We're ranking the teams by them. So I'm going as a whole here. That's my narrative. I write my own narratives around here. The Dolphins 3. I actually don't hate this. I don't know where you guys are at. The only thing I would dispute is who's even their tight end? Mike Gesicki?
I'm trying to think if I honestly, obviously wide receiver goes to the Dolphins, but I honestly think that I like the Lions running back room more than because Raheem Mostert, he's very good when healthy, but that was the most healthy he's ever going to be in his career last year. And Devon A-Chain, I get the hype with him, but that's a guy that when they worry about Jahmyr Gibbs running in between the tackles, and you're like, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs can run in between the tackles. Devon A-Chain is not a guy that you can run in between the tackles consistently. So me personally, I think just because the wide receivers that the Dolphins have are so top heavy, especially now you talk about bringing in Odell and the other guys that they brought in, it's hard to rank them above it, but I see it. I see it.
Yeah, I do agree as far as the running backs go. Monty and Gibbs are better than A-Chain and Monster, but the Dolphins do have better wide receivers. I mean, Waddle, Tyreek Hill's the best, if not one of the best wide receivers in the league. And then obviously OBJ, he's a little on the older side, but he even showed flashes with the Ravens when he got the ball that, he can still be something out there. So
forgot to get OBJ. I forgot that Odell's there now. Number 4, this is where things start to get interesting. Ignore that. Number 4, the Houston Texans, with obviously Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz,
Stephon
Diggs, and they got Joe Mixon. I like
Damian Pierce still.
Yeah, this isn't actually. I think they're good at 4. I mean, I think
I would
they should be in
probably
the top 5.
I would probably put the Texans above the Dolphins if we're being honest. As far as you just going to for depth, like I think the Texans are 3.
I don't hate that either.
I mean, they do have good wide receivers, but like Tyreek Hill is probably just basically, puts the Dolphins where they are. He's so insane. So I'm okay with it either way. But the Texans, man, they're loaded, and I'm curious to see how Joe Mixon does with that offense as well as Stephon Diggs. So I mean, I don't hate it. Tank Dell.
A lot of people hated on Joe Mixon. Not hated, but they were just like, he's overrated. I'm actually I like Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon's good. Like, he catches passes out of the backfield. He can he's a power back too at times. Like, he does. I think he's a great running back. I think them getting him.
I think Joe Mixon's a running back that is good at everything but great at nothing, and that's not a knock. It's just I don't think he's elite at anything, but he's very, very good at pretty much everything.
I agree with that. I think that's good, and I think like a team like the Texans benefit a ton from a guy like that.
Yeah,
I think that he made their offense that much better.
I know it's off topic, but who did the Bengals replace Mixon with? I totally forgot.
Chase Brown, the running back from Illinois last year, and he's very good.
So, this is where things get interesting. This is where things get interesting. You would think the Detroit Lions
I'm interested
to
see. This was the team I was interested in.
The Minnesota Vikings above the Detroit Lions.
I don't hate it. I really don't, because if you think about the conversation we were just having with the Miami Dolphins, I think Jordan Addison, it's going to be hard for him to do it just because of the situation he is. I think Jordan Addison is a guy that could live up to the tier that Jalen Waddle is at right now. I get Jalen Waddle as a burner, but Jordan Addison, I think, is a guy that can do it all. Justin Jefferson, the number 1 wide receiver in the league. And then if you're just comparing him to the Dolphins, I mean, TJ Hawkinson's better than any Miami Dolphins tight end that's been there in the last decade, probably. And I know that the running back situation is a little wary right now, but Aaron Jones is still a legitimate running back in this league. So it's still really hard to hate on that when you have Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson in front of him.
Yeah, no, I get it why they had obviously the 2 wide receivers. Jordan Addison, I don't think people expected him to hit the ground running like he did last year. So he's a great wide receiver. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the game. TJ Hawkinson, as Lions fans, we know how good he can be. Even though we may hate him at times, he's still a very, very good tight end. And then Aaron Jones, when he can stay healthy, he's involved in the passing game, and obviously he can run the ball. So I don't really hate this one as much. I don't know if I expected him to be there. I kind of forgot about him. Obviously, given the quarterback situation, still a little weary, but I don't hate it at all.
I if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm taking the Detroit Lions skill players. I know Justin Jefferson's the best in the league. I just think as a whole, like Demont, Jahmyr Gibbs, Laporta, J-Mo, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe that's biased, maybe it's not. I just think like to see what they've done. I know JJ's put up a ton of numbers. Justin Jefferson has. And obviously he's probably his first 4 years, he's the best wide receiver of all time. So like I get that puts you up there. I just think as a whole, like I'm taking Laporta over TJ Hawkinson now. Yeah. Like I'm like J-Mo, Jordan Addison. We haven't seen J-Mo's ceiling yet because he hasn't been. But Jordan Addison, the thing with Jordan Addison is like if you watch receivers, and they showed it a lot on receivers, Jordan Addison became the wide receiver number 1 last year, and that made his career go from here to here, and he is elite. Like they have a wide receiver 1 in the wide receiver 2 spot. Yeah, he is. And that's where like I think the Jordan Addison is clearly over the J-Mo right now. But like I think J-Mo, you still have to see what his ceiling is. Like you can still get to a Jordan Addison ceiling, but then you go Jahmyr Gibbs and D-Mont, taking them over Aaron Jones every day out of the week. So that's why I think the Lions should be there. This gets more interesting because the net number 6, fellas, the Detroit Lions are the third NFC North team on this list because the Chicago Bears are 6.
The Bears.
The Chicago Bears are 6 on this list.
I would have honestly rather seen the Packers here. I really would. Because I mean, I understand that Keenan Allen is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's one of the favorite receivers I've ever watched growing up, but I think him in Chicago is completely different than him in Los Angeles as far as what they can bring to an offense, because he's not going to be able to do Keenan Allen things consistently. And then DJ Moore, I like DJ Moore. But as far as like talent, competing with upper echelon team in the NFL, like Cole Kmet ain't scaring anybody. Gerald Everett ain't scaring anybody. DeAndre Swift's not scaring anybody. Roshan Johnson is a very solid back, but he's probably, if he were to be on the Detroit Lions, he'd be RB3. So I really don't understand this one. I thought the Packers would be here before them.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with this one bit. Obviously, Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are great wide receivers, even though Keenan has battled with some health issues over the last year. But I don't trust that running back core. And Rome Odunze he was great in college, but you still have to go out there and show it your rookie year. And I still think he's going to be good, but you have to account for that. But like you said, Cole Kmet, not the greatest of tight ends, but he's a good tight end. But that running back group, they have no reason they should be involved in this because of that.
This is ridiculous. This is blasphemy. This is insane. Like I think the only reason they're there is because Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze. I literally think that's it.
But you think about that's it. The premier playmakers that they have, they maybe like even DJ. Like, okay, so they have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. Those are like their playmakers. I'm taking Amon-Ra over DJ Moore. I'm obviously going to take Keenan over J-Mo. But then you talk about, okay, there's Rome Odunze. Okay, but what about the 3 other playmakers that the Lions have in Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery? Like, it's completely outweighed, in my opinion.
I don't think
talking about Sam Laporta yet.
I think the Lions, you make an argument. I think the Lions are 4th on this list. Like, that's where I would put them. Like, I would put the Texans ahead because of like the depth they have at wide receiver. And then I would put the Lions, and then I would go like Packers. And if you wanted to go Bears, I would. But I think I would put.
You have the Lions in front of the Dolphins?
Actually, probably, because I like the running back room more, and I like Sam Laporta over. I don't even know their tight end right now, Mike Gesicki.
I can't even think of it off the. No, he's gone. I can't even think of it.
The only thing with the Lions is the wide receiver room that we talked about, and literally that's why I think like the Jameson Williams conversation is so big, is because it's like if he turns out to be what he's supposed to be, then you can start putting them higher on these lists. That's I think it comes down to.
It was Jonnu, yeah.
Jonnu Smith. Okay, yeah.
Very fine tight end, very fine.
Yeah, I'm still taking. But number 7, obviously now the Detroit Lions at 7. So like they're still top 7, but I think they should be 4th, and I would put them above. But I'd put them above the Dolphins. So maybe that makes them 3rd. I'm not 100% sure where they would fall, but I think this is fine. They were ranked last year 16th anyway, so they moved up almost 10 spots.
Well,
who's right above them? Finish up the top 10 real quick.
Let's do top 10. We'll go through it quick here. No free ads. The Seattle Seahawks, which I think.
Yeah, I actually really like that one, to be honest.
Good wide receiver group. K9's a dog. Zach Charbonnet.
K9, very underrated, by the way.
Will Disley sneaking out there at the tight end position?
The Rams, I think this is fine. Their running back room's good. Court receivers good. Who's their tight end? He's coming back from injury.
Tyler Higbee.
Yeah,
Higbee.
I wonder if he'll be back. And then the Falcons.
Kirby week 1.
This is I can't do this. I can't do this
over the Raiders. I'm surprised the Raiders weren't on here. Well, I guess they lost Josh Jacobs, but so they got Michael Mayer, and now they got Brock Bowers. Bengals as well.
Oh, I can't do this. I would rather have the Jets. I would rather have the Jets.
Oh, that's another one.
Mike
Brees
Williams,
Hall,
Garrett
Mike Williams,
Wilson,
Garrett
Brees
Wilson.
Tyler Conk.
Conk.
I mean, what are we doing here?
We're
What
a
are we
Jets
doing
podcast.
here? I'm stop sharing that. That's unbelievable. That's kind of embarrassing for ESPN. Jeez.
That was a pretty poor article.
Do you guys want to do a couple minutes of mailbag here real quick before we go?
Oh, shit,
Everyone, if you guys drop.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, once we started the segment, I didn't realize the time, and then I knew, like in my head, that the Lions were 7th. I was like, we're definitely going to go over a little bit. So make sure you guys drop your mailbag questions for us. We'll answer some questions here for you, and then we'll get out of here. I do think though the Lions. What do you guys? What would you guys if you guys had to like redo that list? Where would you guys put them?
Probably put them at 6.
Really?
Mhm.
Yeah, probably
Maybe 5. I'd have to look at it
5
again real
5
quick.
or
But
6.
like I said,
I
I
still
don't. Go ahead, Gentry.
I was gonna say I still don't know if I'm putting them over like the Dolphins or anything like that, just because of the wide receiver core. I mean, it is what it is, but I think they're probably around 5.
Yeah, I'd put them. I don't hate the Vikings being over them. I think that's where the cutoff starts. The other ones I'll leave up there.
Do you know what's an interesting part too with this is the Kansas City Chiefs were 14th. I think that shows like how good Patrick Mahomes is.
Mhm.
It's like he has the 14th ranked weapons in the NFL, and that man still goes out there and wins back-to-back Super Bowls. Like that's crazy. I feel like that they could be higher.
I don't think they'll be 14th ranked after this year. Once he gets a year under his belt with Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, another year of Rashee Rice, and then Travis is Travis. So I don't know if that ranking will hold up.
Yeah, that's fair. We got a question here, boys. We got a question here. So who's 2 playoff teams in the AFC and NFC that made the playoffs last year that won't this year?
My AFC, I already know one is my Colts. That's an easy one. And then I'll say the Jets too. Colts and Jets.
Other way around, Klotzy.
Yeah, that made.
That made
it
the
last
playoffs
year.
that won't
I
this
said
year?
the Browns. I said the Browns.
Was
thinking about
the
that.
AFC. Did the Steelers make it? The Steelers will find a way to fucking make it in. Trying to think of like the teams off the top of my head. I would say
Cowboys, Browns.
Cowboys, Browns, and then I would say I could see the Buccaneers not making it again this year. If the Falcons kind of tear things up, I could see that being a possibility.
Would it be crazy to say the Dolphins?
I don't.
The Jets.
They fell into the playoffs last year. I know you remember that, Boone. That
But they had so many
narrative.
injuries. They had so many injuries on the defensive side of the ball late in the season. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Van Gink.
I guess so. I just think like one of these, like I think there's a narrative out there, or not a narrative, but there's like come on, Alec.
Oh yeah, the Bills. I forgot the Bills even made it in the playoffs.
I think there's like a trend. I think there's a trend that every year there's 2 teams that made it that don't. I could be wrong, but I think I've heard that before, and that's on AFC and NFC. So like when you're going through it, you have to like typically 2 teams don't. So like if you think about the AFC, like the Bengals probably make it with a healthy Joe Burrow, and I think like the Colts or the Jags make it with healthy teams. So like now you have to take 2 teams out. Who are you taking out? I think the Browns. And then if I had to pick a team that falls out, I would say the Dolphins. Honestly,
I like the Bills more than the Dolphins in the situation.
You expect the Jets to be better. It's a tough division if you expect the Bills to be good. Boom. So
yeah. What about this one here, Klotzy? How do you think we use Vaki this year? Sione Vaki.
I think he'll kind of be like. He'll definitely be on the kickoff return and punt returns. I think he'll be used a little bit, and then he'll be sprinkled in offensively, but I don't think that much. He'll just be like a special teams guy. I think especially on kickoffs and like punt and like punting, as far as tracking the ball and getting down there making a play, you'll see that he played safety at Utah, and those motherfuckers hit.
Yeah. Do you remember the who was the guy, the A to Z Sports guy that covers the Detroit Lions? He did the predictions, and he had Sione Vaki.
Mike Payton, right?
Yeah, Mike. And he did the predictions, and he had Sione Vaki having like 500 all-purpose yards, like 250 rush, 250.
I just don't see how it happens
unless someone gets injured. And knock on wood.
That would be interesting. Last one here, boys. Where do the boys go nowadays to get that big fitness energy?
The golf course.
Gym down the street and go for runs.
Me walking from to and from the golf cart. A lot of exercise, swinging the club.
Exhilarating, I bet, Gentry.
Yeah, it's a lot. It adds up.
That's all I do too. I walk back and forth from my desk. I should get some big fitness energy going though soon, boys. All right, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, boys. This is a great show. I had a great time with you, boys. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 to 10. If you guys haven't yet, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, 5-star review if you're listening.
Get your merch too. Get your merch before the season.
Yes.
We're gonna be coming out with more soon, but get your merch. Get the original, the OG merch that we ever put out. So when we blow up, continue to grow, you'll have the original merch, and you can say that you were here from day one. So go get it now.
And we'll keep releasing stuff all year long. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 to 10. Hit the like button. Peace.
Peace.